Busy show today. Denton's going to come on with us today at 11:35 to talk college football. It'll be great to have Denton back on the show. Charch will make his first appearance, the first of 17 or 18 appearances to talk fantasy football at 11, and then Ben will jump on with me at noon. I guess a quick warning to those of you triggered by contract detail talk. This is your warning to turn down the volume because I certainly don't want to offend anybody. For the many of you, though, that love contract talk so much so that you asked me, advised me, publicly admonished me on social media, begging me to apologize for being so wrong about the Terry deal when the agent put out some of the numbers on Monday. I'm not going to pile on. I'm not. We all make a lot of mistakes. I make plenty of them. But now that the real information on Terry's deal is out there, the deal's a very good one for the team. They may have budged a bit, but it wasn't a lot. $44 million guaranteed. I got to be honest with you. I was even shocked to see it that low. I thought it would come in somewhere around 50. You know, I said yesterday, anywhere between 55 and 60 guaranteed is kind of a draw. Anything north of 60 million guaranteed is kind of a big win for Terry and his agent. And anything less than 55 million guaranteed is a big win for the team. But essentially, it's 44 million guaranteed over 2 years since there isn't guaranteed money in year 3. There are a ton of incentives in the deal. They let the agent have his day on Monday. But by the way, you know, Terry's going to put a minimum of $44 million into his bank account, something the team did not have to offer because he was under contract and entering his age 30 season. He should have taken it. I don't think that they were thrilled. I think you'll hear that everybody's thrilled when we hear from the general manager and Terry and, the negotiations were never nearly as contentious. I believe that the team basically gave him an ultimatum very recently. This is it. Take it or leave it, or we're going to go play the season, and you can play it on the final year of your deal. And he took it, which is smart. I think it's good at his age to put 44 million minimum into his pocket. And if he's right about he's a young 30, he'll benefit from that, and so will the team. The team will benefit because a lot of this 3 years, 87 million, not 3 years, 96 million, a lot of that is based on Terry performing beyond this year and beyond next year. And if he is, that's good for the team, and they'll gladly pay another, $29 million for 27 and 28. They'll gladly pay that. But this was good, smart contract negotiation by the team. I think they felt all along that this would be a good offer for Terry to accept. Clearly, Terry and his agent didn't believe that to be the case. They thought they were worth a lot more than what they got. But I think they were very smart to take it and not move forward playing on the final year of his deal. I don't know that even $44 million guaranteed would have ever been there available for him after this season. It's good for the team, very good for the team. It's also a good sign in terms of the way they're going to negotiate. They're not going to just overpay for culture, all right, and for past performance. They're going to, do what they think is analytically intelligent and smart. Pay for the years that they feel he will continue to perform at a very high level. They like the player a lot, not just on the field, but off it, which is why they made the offer in the first place. They probably came up a little bit, not a lot. The $44 million guaranteed tells you they probably did not come up that much overall. They were able to certainly get the AAV up from 25, their initial offer, but a lot of that over, the additional 3 years is really incentive driven. But it's okay. He, I think, did well, even though he probably doesn't think that he did as well, or the agent doesn't think they did as well. They'll position it certainly as a big-time positive for an age 30 receiver, because not all age 30 receivers get this opportunity. I think it's good for both. I do. And that's all. To me, it's like, yeah, at first glance the other day, of course, at first blush, you guys jumped all over people like me. That's fine. But the fact that the guaranteed money wasn't a part of the information that was disseminated was a major red flag in the moment for people who have paid attention to this stuff, to savvy people who have followed this stuff, including my guest, Michael Giannetti from Spot Track, and many others that said, the silence on the guaranteed money is deafening. And we found out why with the details of the contract being released today. It's a really good deal for the team. I honestly believe for Terry, even though they wanted a lot more than this, I think it's good for him. I mean, it's not about, people say, and I've seen a lot of you, especially the old school. Are you kidding me? He's going to put $50 million maybe into his pocket, $55 million into his pocket. He won't take it. Like, what are we talking about here? It's not that, this is very competitive. Agents are competitive. They're trying to get that next big client. Terry has a feel and a sense for where he belongs in this conversation. $5, $6, $7 million doesn't seem like as much to them as it is to us, but anyway, overall, I would say be pleased as a fan of the team that the team did not cave as people thought they had done, because I think it would have been a bad precedent. And if those numbers had come out today as $65 million guaranteed, I would have been critical of the team. I would have. I think this is a fair deal that Terry smartly accepted, I believe. From my standpoint, I can't put myself into their shoes. I know that they wanted a lot more. There's no doubt. They thought he was worth a lot more than $44 million guaranteed. And $29 million AAV, with heavy incentives in the deal, which, by the way, are very achievable incentives. Terry's going to play well this year. He's going to play well next year. The team's analytics say that after 2026, entering age 32 season, they had some questions and they weren't going to put themselves on the hook, for that. Anyway, that's it on that. If you want to weigh in, have at it. 301-230-0980, 301-230-0980. I'm not going to sit here and read all the emails that I read yesterday asking you guys just to exert just a little bit of patience. I mean, it's the same thing we've talked about in the past, whether it's, Sam Howell off of one game against the Cowboys at the end of a season. It's like, really? You're sure you saw a top level starting quarterback from a meaningless game? Or the OC that literally nobody else in the league wanted to hire as an OC. And somehow he was the absolute coup of the century and he was going to be our next coach. Got to give it some time on these things. By the way, speaking of giving it some time, Emmanuel Forbes made the Rams and apparently will start at cornerback for the Rams. Good for him. Good for him. It's so hard to really judge the draft after 2 seasons. You got to give it 3 full. And at that position in particular, and how many times have you guys talked about this? We've talked about it together. Scheme and fit is so important. There are guys that absolutely look like trash as secondary players in one scheme, but look great in another. And it's not just zone versus man and the breakdown. It's the way it's taught. It's the way it's played. So who knows? The guy was a playmaker in college for sure when he got his hands on the football. He looked slight and overwhelmed. Anyway, all right. What was I going to say? Oh, how about this trade? Did you see this Adam Thielen trade, Max?
Sure did.
Adam Thielen going back to Minnesota, and the Panthers are getting, it looks like, a 4th-round selection for Adam Thielen?
In 2027, but yes. And they're also getting a 2026 fifth-round pick, according to Adam Schefter.
Isn't that a lot for Adam Thielen at this point? Adam Thielen's also an older receiver. He's got to be 32 at least, right?
It is, but these picks that they've received are also going to be pick swaps. So they're sending a 2026 seventh-round pick, so they're jumping up from the seventh to the fifth. See
it now.
And then the fifth-round pick, they're jumping up in 2027 from the fifth
Adam
to the
Thielen's 35 years old.
Yep.
Great route runner. That is for sure.
Apparently, he was working out with J.J. McCarthy in the offseason as well.
I'm sorry?
Apparently, he was working out with J.J. McCarthy in the offseason as well. So there's already a little bit of some chemistry there.
Yeah. Adam Thielen, Justin Jefferson was a pretty good combo. Adam Thielen, Stephon Diggs was a pretty good combo. The reason the Vikings moved on from him is they drafted Jordan Addison. And Addison now is going to miss the first 3 games of the season because of conduct detrimental. DUI, I think, was the issue with him, correct? I'm pretty sure that's
I believe that is correct, yes.
Yeah. And Justin Jefferson's health isn't great right now, although they expect him to be available for the opener. That's the first Monday night game of the year. Minnesota against Chicago. Just one Monday night game, week 1. Chicago hosting the Vikings. You get to see J.J. McCarthy in his NFL debut because he missed the entire season, and you get to see that against Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams. That's actually a pretty good, now that I think about it. I think the first time I saw it, I'm like, that's okay as a Monday night opener. Not great, but a lot of intrigue with both teams on what they will be. Minnesota won 14 games last year. There's no chance they can win 14 this year. Although defensively, they were awesome last year until the end of the year, until the very end of the year. By the way, the Terry McLaurin contract negotiation getting finalized bumped the point spread from as low as 6 up to as high as 7 now. I think that is actually a result of Terry being not in the fold. He was always in the fold. People have described it as being in the fold, but being in the fold with hopefully some level of comfort. Probably not the comfort he wanted. But again, I view this as certainly the negotiation won by the team. That's obvious. But overall, getting $44 million for Terry at this age, I think it's a win for him too. And the way the AAV will be positioned at 29 is a good number for him. That puts him a little bit below, Brandon Ayuk, a little bit above T. Higgins, the highest paid wide receiver too. Not bad. Not what they wanted, nowhere near what they wanted, but not bad. All right. Lots to get to on the show today. We hopefully will have another guest as well because I want to talk Maryland football at some point. I know so many of you are excited about the Terps' young quarterback, as I am. Take a break, come back. Kevin Sheehan Show, the Team 980 and the team980.com. Actually, it's 44.65 million guaranteed if you add up all of the details of the deal. And all of it in terms of the guaranteed money in the first 2 years, it would appear. 301-230-0980. This is not for you people out there that hate contract detail. You just want to be thrilled that Terry's there. Both things can be true at the same time. I'm thrilled Terry is going to be playing under a contract extension. I'm glad to know that this first big contract negotiation for the team sets sort of a precedent that you're not coming here to get paid in the twilight of your career. You know, this isn't going to be that kind of organization. I think the team did very well. I also think Terry did very well. Clearly, he and his agent thought that very well would have been a lot more than 44.65 million guaranteed. But that is the state of it. A lot of you want to weigh in on it. 301-230-0980. So we'll take some calls again on the show today. Charch at 11. Denton will jump on with me at 11:35, and Ben Standig will be on with me at 12. Let's start with Kendall in Temple Hills. Kendall, thanks for calling. Go ahead.
Hey, what's up, Kevin?
Hey, Kendall.
You know, it's something about fans, man. I was listening to your show the other day, and I heard, when we got the deal done, how everybody was taking victory laps, Ian and all these different people talking about $6 million. He'll get more than $60 million. And I said, that just doesn't make sense. It didn't make sense when you see it as $30 million, so they're going to give him an additional 30. I just didn't see it. So what we see with Adam Peters, he's a real GM, and that's good. And obviously Terry and his representation had, I guess they had an unrealistic viewpoint of what he could get on the open market. But this, just like you said, it sets a good precedent because we're going to have a lot more of these in the future, hopefully. And we can rest assured that Adam is going to handle them correctly. He still has some things to prove because, we are one of the oldest teams in the league, so he's going to have to redo this roster. And so that's in the future. But for right now, we're in good hands, man. This is a good deal. And I'm happy that Terry's here, and I'm happy that he got a fair deal. And I'm glad that Adam handled it correctly.
Yeah, I am too. And I think that for those that would say you don't haggle this much, you don't negotiate this hard with a player like Terry McLaurin, there is a level of that I think makes sense. But I think that most around the league and a lot of agents, if they're objective about it, will say this is something the team didn't need to do, or they could have offered a lot less. Part of the deal is them just guaranteeing the 19+ million for this year. Well, of course he was going to get that. They weren't cutting him. He was going to play in 2025. But I don't look at it as the team just negotiated it. They were hardball. They didn't treat Terry the right way. I look at it, as I said a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, they don't have to do this, but they're doing this because they like the player. They like the player a lot. And I think it was smart for Terry to take the deal. I did hear that there was a reckoning, very recently of it's time for you to either take this or leave it, or we're going to move on and get focused on this season with you playing out your final year of the deal. Thanks, Kendall. Appreciate it. Yeah, let's go to Mark in Largo. Mark, what's up?
Bad deal. In fact, I'm going to tell you something, Kevin. I'm going to tell you what's
bad deal for whom?
It's a bad deal for Terry. It's a horrible deal for Terry.
Yeah.
In fact, if I'm Terry right now, I fire my agent and I get Nicole Lynn to be my agent. And this is what I would say, and I guarantee this is what's going to happen. Guaranteed. Nicole Lynn will probably ask the Skins at the end of the season, whether we win the Super Bowl or not, Terry wants to get traded. Because he only has 1 year left on his deal. Okay? He only has 1 year left. From this contract.
Yeah, this is a 2-year deal. Just so everybody's clear, and I hope I made this clear in the open. This is basically a 2-year, $44 million deal in terms of what's guaranteed.
I have to do your job for you. I have to do your job for you as the Mark Largo show. I have to do your job for you.
What do you mean you got to do my job for me?
Because you didn't express that.
I did say that. I did say that. It's in my notes right here for the
Anyway.
open to the show. I did say it. I just emphasized it. So you're
anyway,
just parroting me. You're just parroting me.
Before you interrupt me, here's what. Okay.
Before I interrupt.
Okay, I give you that. Here's why I say he needs to push to get moved next year, this offseason. Do it when you can, because
what are you talking about? He just signed a deal. He's gonna play for this team for 2 years minimum.
No,
and if he's really good, both sides win in 2027.
How?
What do you mean how?
Could you please? And Kevin, can I say something else, please? Could you please stop with this "we are the Dallas Cowboys" attitude? You've been watching that American team too damn much.
I do like it. It's good. Have you watched any of it?
Give them a contract extension.
What do you?
Be fortunate that they're doing this. They should be fortunate. You sound so much like you're an elitist.
I'm not an elitist, but I was pro management on this one. You're right. You're right.
Stop trying to sound like it. You act like you're a billionaire.
Oh,
I'm not a billionaire.
I'm not. I'm not, and I don't act like I am. Why don't you make your point? Why don't you make the point you wanted to make? Terry got a bad deal, so now you want him to ask for a trade.
And this is why I would fire my agent and go get Nicole in to be the Clutch Sports to be his agent.
Yeah.
Ask for a trade and say, look, we'll go for a trade this offseason. We don't want anything messy. Just give us a trade so we can go to another team and they can give him a long-term deal.
Okay.
With guaranteed money.
You can't do that if you're going to move Luke McCaffrey to tight end and have him bulk up. You need more receivers.
Oh, you remember that.
Get out of here.
You're good.
See ya.
I love you.
Mark and Largo, everybody. God, he needs a show. CK, try him out late nights. Skip in DC. Skip, go ahead.
Kevin, that was hilarious. I think this deal is the Trey Hendrickson deal plus 1 year.
Yeah,
In other words, he's getting $44 million plus the 19 that he was already going to get. Okay, so that's 63 for 2 years. So
well, no, it's 44 guaranteed for 2 years. It includes the 19 that he was going to get this year. That's fully they fully guaranteed that. It wasn't fully guaranteed.
Okay, so in reality, because the 19 was already guaranteed. 19
no, it wasn't.
Out of the
it actually wasn't because
it
was basically base salary. So they fully guaranteed that. It's $44.65 million guaranteed, and none of that guaranteed money spills into year 3, making it a 2-year, $44.65 million deal. But just to be clear, if he plays well, he's under contract in 2027 and in 2028. So if he plays well and the team wants him back and Terry wants him back, it's win-win. The team will gladly pay out the rest of that $87 million of what the extension is beyond this season if he's playing well. They'll gladly do it.
Do you know what the incentives are?
Yeah, I mean they're lengthy. You want me to read through all of them?
No.
Albert Breer just tweeted out all of the details. They're very, they're very attainable. Yeah.
Yes. So in other words, there are numbers that are reachable if he has a year like he just had.
Yeah. I mean, yes. Okay. I mean, like in 2025, $300,000 for 83 catches, $600,000 for 83 catches and playoffs. $300,000 for 1,097 yards, $600,000 for 1,097 yards and playoffs. So right there, you could add another 1.2 million if he's got 80, if he has the season. Did he have 1,097? Was that the number last year? 82 and 1,097? Maybe one catch and 1 yard over what he had last year.
1,096.
What'd you say?
1,096.
Yeah, so it's 1 yard more and one catch more because he had, was it 82 catches he had last year?
Yep.
Yeah.
Right. Yes,
so these are, if he has the kind of year he had last year, he's going to earn another 1.2 million. And by the way, 600,000 for 10 TD catches in playoffs, 300,000 for just the 10 TD catches, 500,000 escalator for first or second team all pro. He made second team all pro last year. So if you add it up, let me do the quick math. That's 1.8, 2.3. He's got another $2.3 million in incentives that he can earn this year. And it looks like it's the exact same for next year as well. And a lot of that, actually, those are the incentives for all 3 of the extension years and this last year of his current deal. But there's nothing guaranteed after the 44.65 in 25-26, which is really, again, that's what you look at. What's guaranteed? What's fully guaranteed? But what's the point you want to make?
What is the cap space on 27?
We'll see how they allocate for the cap. I don't have that stuff right now.
Okay,
I would imagine, Skip,
Yeah.
I would imagine that it is very painless if they don't see Terry as a part of the roster in 2027 for them to move on cap-wise and cash-wise. It will be cash-wise because it looks like the 2027 is all base salary and then incentives.
Okay, so I think we can conclude from that deal that it's very team friendly, obviously.
Yeah.
And it shows Adam Peters is no joke. He's a serious guy to be taken seriously in this league. And for the future contract, the best argument that the team made, and by the way, Adam Peters, there was hardly any leaks. In fact, I would say none coming from the Adam Peters office.
You know, excellent point. I think there was a moment there where they immediately refuted the low ball offer that was out there. I think Ben had some really solid reporting on this recently, that Washington's initial offer was essentially 25 AAV. And I would imagine that the guaranteed dollars were a little bit less than where it is now. I don't think they came up a lot from their initial offer on guaranteed, but they certainly put the agent in a position the other day to kind of crow and market a 32 million AAV, which obviously would include all of those incentives over the length of the deal. Yes. I mean, I think, again, team did very well in this, but also I don't want to underplay from my standpoint, because how long have I been saying, Terry, take the 50 million guaranteed. Take it.
Hey, Kevin,
you're not going to have a chance. It wasn't 50, but it was 44.65.
And I totally agreed with you. There was no way that Terry wasn't going to take us any kind of substantial money that was on the table.
Yeah.
And
it just wasn't 70
year.
or 80 million in guaranteed, which I'm sure is what they wanted when they were asking for 40 million a year.
For him and the future of his family, he was never going to turn down anything.
He's too smart, I think.
Yes. Agreed.
Okay. What else?
All right, Kevin.
Thank you, Skip, as always. Let's go to Tony in Silver Spring. Tony, thanks for holding. Go ahead.
Thanks for having me.
Sure.
To be honest, Kevin, I'm listening to the broadcast, and I missed a lot of stuff. Possibly what you may have been saying in the beginning, and it's fascinating because I was going to say that I was disappointed with with Terry's guaranteed money. However, with the way I give you a lot of credit, and the way you've been the way you've delineated what's going on. I mean, it's fascinating, and I think. I mean, after listening to this, I mean, just I'm talking about over the last 2 minutes. I believe that probably the Commanders, got what they wanted.
Yeah. Yep.
And also that Terry probably got as much as he could have.
Yeah, I think he did, Tony. I think he did. Good call. Appreciate it. Let's go to our guy Bones in Southeast. Bones, go ahead.
Hey, you know what, Kevin, man? I mean,
hold on, Bones. Shout out to Max.
How you doing?
Shout out to Mad Max.
Kevin.
Shout out to my main man, Max. Hey, but look, check this out, Kevin. Man, you got some hell of a characters be calling here, man. You got Iron, you got Mark and Largo. I think Mark and Largo smoking that group.
He's got some good stuff, no doubt, before he calls in.
And, hello, can you hear
Look
me?
at Bones put me on speaker and got all kinds of stuff going on here. This is outstanding so far, isn't it, Max? Scintillating radio. Put
This is
Bones
great.
on hold.
Yeah.
Let's go to Jerome in D.C. Jerome, go ahead.
Hey, good morning, Kevin. Thanks for taking my call.
Sure, Jerome.
Long time listener, for about second time calling in.
Appreciate
you know what? I have to take my hat off to you because you are one of the only. I'm 54 years old, born and raised in D.C. You are one of the two that I listen to that goes into everything logically. Everybody that called is so emotional. You can clearly see that the team was not trying to drag 30 because they could have. They could have played very bad ball with him and say, listen, you got 1 year. Either you pay or you get or whatever you do, you get fined or whatever. But they looked out for him because they generally like Terry.
I think
they
did.
like him. I just think that Terry, the bad advice that his agent did, I would have never stood out and got 50,000 and gave the team 150 and lost it. I would have never done that. But they looked out for him, Kevin. And I just thank you, man, because you better than me. These guys be calling, they just be everywhere. I mean, you know what?
Come on. It's fun. This is what makes, honestly, this is why
it does.
Coming in here every day and having different opinions and debating it out. I think with things like this, though, all of us have learned with the contract stuff, you just got to wait a little bit before being so declarative, from being so sure of yourself. And man, it's just like we've done this with other things too. This one was an obvious put the brakes on here because there's no guaranteed money that the agent is listing in this thing, and that was a red flag for everybody that's paid attention to it.
Yeah,
but here's the bottom line. You said it. They like him. They like him a lot. That's why they made this offer, and that's why they probably came up a little bit as well. And for those that said they could have gotten this done, months ago, they couldn't get it done months ago when the team was somewhere around here, maybe a little bit lower, and Terry was looking for $40 million a year on average and probably $80 million guaranteed. That was too big of a divide to have it, settled quickly. They had to get to the point where, look, it's now you got to take this or leave it, man, or you're going to play this final year on your final deal. And that's where I think I've got some faith in Adam Peters that there was some pressure. Early on, the fans were very much, they were angry. All of a sudden, after 14 wins, 2 playoff road wins, what are you doing with our best player? Get him signed. Who cares what he wants? Pay the man. And he's like, can't do that. Can't set the precedent here of being the team that overpays, especially players who are perceived to be getting up there in years, even though I do think Terry's got solid years left. I agree with him. Sure. He was great last year. Sure. I mean, not so much different than he was years before, but he had a quarterback. He made big plays, big catches. He's going to be outstanding this year and next, and wouldn't surprise me if he ends up earning a lot of this contract by playing another 4 seasons here in D.C., which is essentially what the contract, has available to him if he performs.
Yeah, and this is the best fit for him, Kevin. Overall, this is the best.
Totally.
This is the best fit for him. So thank you, Kevin.
Great fit for him. Great fit for him. And look, this gives him the opportunity to go ahead and over a 4-year period make $87 million over a 4-year period. But the team doesn't have to commit to that unless he's performing. It was, I think, well done by the team, but I also think Terry was smart to take it. Let's go to Bay. Bay, thanks for holding. Go ahead.
Hey, what's up, Kevin? Good morning, man. Thanks for
Bay, what's happening, man?
Hey, Kevin, man, I'm really convinced this fan base is too bitter. They don't know when they got a good thing going. We have been burned from the Snyder era so bad that we have now taken anything that's going positive and turned it into a negative. We headed in the right direction. We got an ownership that stays out the way. We got a GM who does GM stuff. We got a coach that does coach stuff. We got players that are loyal to one another. And yet and still this fan base finds something ignorant to complain about each and every time. Terry got in, did the deal, him and his wife, they were happy, they were fine. But it seems like some of these fans, they still not happy. He should get more money. Why should he get more money if he happy? Why don't you go out there and play for him? I get so tired of this. Some of these fans.
I hope he's happy, Bay. I hope he's happy. I know it wasn't what they thought it would end up being. That's a given. Given that they were, of course, their initial ask is negotiating. It's not exactly what they want, but it's so far off from what their initial ask was. But I hope he's thrilled, or I hope he is at least satisfied. And I think, he's such a pro's pro. Even if he played this final year of his deal without getting the extension, I think we would have gotten the best of Terry.
I agree. Thanks, Kevin.
Yep, Bay. Appreciate it. Eric in Norfolk. Eric, go ahead.
Evan, now that the details are in, I think we finally have closure on this long situation. I love the analogy on the horror movie that you mentioned yesterday. We found out how the killer was caught. So pretty pumped about that. When I saw the signing bonus at $30 million, I thought the guaranteed would probably be closer to 60. But when it started to kind of take a while to be reported, my hunch and my kind of meter started leaning further south. So I was a little surprised to see the guarantee that low. But, I love that the team kind of included, Terry's own words, putting that money against his argument with, he isn't getting fit for a walker and that he's got lower miles than other players his age and that he's stayed healthy. So, that's going to play into this contract. So it's like, all right, if that's in fact the case and you feel that strongly, then you shouldn't have any problem hitting these incentives. So I think that's great that that's included.
Right.
And I think, and then also, this last year without any guaranteed money, I think that also opens an opportunity where if he is still hitting those milestones and we want to keep him, we can throw some guaranteed money on it and rework the contract to be team friendly, but adding some guaranteed money there at the very end. I think
that's right.
I love it.
The team has a ton of flexibility after these next 2 years, and it'll be based on how he's playing and what they think he's going to do moving forward. A friend of mine just sent me this, David Aldridge, in his story. This is a really good line. David writes, the Commanders are no longer the place in talking about under new management, the Commanders are no longer the place where you pick up your golden handshake on the back nine of your career. Where there was financial anarchy during the worst of the Snyder era, there is now rock-ribbed discipline. Yeah, I think I wanted to see that. Out of all of, look, you want to be right, we're competitive, all of that stuff. But really, I wanted to see that there was going to be some discipline from a new GM. He's never been a GM before in his first big contract discussion and negotiation. And that's important. You gotta be good top down. Now, you also have to be good at quarterback. And we have a very good quarterback. Let's go back to Bones. Is Bones ready to roll? All right, Bones. Go ahead.
What's up? Shout out to my main man, Max, man. Kevin, man, your guy, man, Mark and Largo, man. Oh, man, wow. He be tripping, man. You got some characters that be calling you. But anyway, man, I'm just so happy, man, that they got the deal done. And Terry wasn't no daggone fool and not signed for that $47 million guarantee. $47 million guarantee.
44.65.
All I need is $1 million. All I need is $1 million guaranteed.
You and me both.
I'm ready to play football, man. I'm ready to play, man. Let's play football. Let's go out
Can't
here,
wait
man.
for the games to
Get
start.
ready for the Giants, man. Thanks for taking my call. I love you.
All right,
guys,
Bones.
man.
Love you. Appreciate it. You know what? We've had something to talk about. That's for sure. I mean, there's always been a quarterback conversation, a new coach conversation, and some of the other stuff. But usually it's been highlighted in the offseason by quarterback and coaching situation. We didn't have that for the first time in a long time. We did have this. Obviously, as a fan of the team, it would have been wonderful had, early in March or sometime in April or May, before we got into mandatory mini camps, if there was a joint press release, the team and Terry McLaurin have agreed to a deal, both sides thrilled. You're going to hear, by the way, today, both sides are thrilled. I think you are. I hope that's the way they publicly handle it. You know, Terry's got an incentive with his agent to act like they did really well in the deal. And the team probably shouldn't gloat that they, you know, as David Aldridge wrote, where's the line my friend just sent me, under management, rock rib discipline. Both ended up doing well, but it did take too long. But we did have something to talk about when, you know, all we would have been talking about was how great Jaden Daniels was in 2024. And could he repeat it again? That's been part of the conversation, too. All right, I see everybody on hold. Everybody wants to weigh in on this. Billy, G, Gerald, Athen, everybody else. Stay there. We'll take more calls after this. Kevin Sheehan Show, the Team 980, theteam980.com. We're free and live on the Odyssey app. Don't forget, you can watch us on our YouTube channel. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. This last segment of the show is brought to you by Staples. Your local Staples has hot deals and super low prices throughout the store on everything for your business. And right now at Staples, save up to $125 off your print order. Exclusions apply. Visit staples.com/print for details. Ends 9/13. And save even more with the Easy Rewards program at Staples.
All right, here's what's happening on this, what is it, Wednesday? I think it's Wednesday, August 27th. A little bit of NFL trade news in the works this morning. Adam Thielen is headed back to the Minnesota Vikings in exchange for a 2026 fifth-round pick and a 2027 fourth-round pick. These are pick swaps, not just picks themselves. The Jags, they also trade for Tim Patrick and send a sixth-round pick to the Detroit Lions. He is already their tallest, heaviest, and oldest wide receiver at age 31. The Nats, they will fall to the Yankees last night by a score of 5-1. Mackenzie Gore gives up 3 runs on 3 hits through 5 innings. Luis Gil with 5 innings of solid pitching, giving up 1 run on 5 hits, including 5 strikeouts. The Nats are looking to avoid the sweep today. They will wrap up their series versus the Yankees this afternoon. Cade Cavalli taking on Max Fried. First pitch at 1:05. Nats on deck with Charlie and Dave at 12:35 on the Fan. This update is sponsored by the Team 980 YouTube page. Just open the app, type in the Team 980, hit subscribe. Kevin Sheehan is live every day from 10 to 1. You can catch Denton's office throughout all of football season. Don't forget to hit the like button whenever you do decide to join us and turn on notifications to stay up to date on all things DC sports. And that is what's trending.
Coming up, Charch Fantasy Football Draft Talk with him. If you haven't drafted your team yet, Charch will be with us again every Thursday during the regular season, but he's going to join us today. His schedule is busy. So 301-230-0980 if you want to weigh in. The details of the Terry contract are out. It was clearly a good, negotiation by Adam Peters and the team. They were, I don't want to call it super hard lined. I think the offer by itself was generous because they certainly didn't have to do it, but it certainly was nowhere near where the agent and Terry were looking for it. But Terry accepted it, and I'm glad he did, because I don't think this opportunity of $44.65 million guaranteed over 2 years would have existed, this time next year. It's probably 25-30 million short of what they wanted in guaranteed money, at least. But Terry, he's a pro. I don't, whether he loves the deal or just likes it, or however he really feels, he's a pro. And you got him for 2 years here, and then the team's got flexibility after 2 years. 301-230-0980. Let's go to Billy in Chantilly. Billy, go ahead.
Kevin, good morning. I was surprised and a little bit hurt, actually, that Bones didn't give me a shout out. G from the shop and Ian and I, we have a friendly rivalry, I think, because of our intellectual take.
Mm-hmm.
I think you buried the lead on this.
If you don't say so yourself.
Buried the lead. I think Buddy Baker found a girlfriend somehow, and with this Taylor Swift engagement, romance is in the air here come fall. And Buddy Baker, thank you for coordinating this effort. Terry, as you know, drafted in 2019, first game against the Eagles, 69-yard touchdown.
Yeah.
Pass. 2020 named team captain. 2022 participated in the off-season workouts, even though he was a free agent at the time. July signed his contract.
He wasn't a free agent at the time. He still had a year left on his deal.
In 2022?
Yeah. Yep.
I thought there was no. I thought he participated.
No, he wasn't a free agent
the
in 2022. They extended his deal in 2022. But go ahead. As you're reading his resume.
2023 top 100 player by the players, 1,000-yard seasons, 38 touchdowns, 460 catches, 6,000+ yards. And Kevin, it's a cynical world we live in, and professional football is a very tough business. And I would like to just say, on behalf of all the football team fans, Terry, you complete us. Thank you.
That was deep, and you are certainly, satisfactory in your reading of player resumes. Let's go to my guy G from the shop. G, by the way, the Cowboys documentary is really good. I'm through 4 episodes now. It's very good.
Oh, I ain't gonna steer you wrong.
I know.
Man. I got great taste, man. I know you do too. And I wish I only could be as smart as Mark from Largo, because god dang, he's calling for Terry, demanding a trade already for next year. No, I like it for both sides, man. Both sides got what they want. It shows me Terry believes in himself to reach them incentives, and it shows me that the people that was making the contract wasn't going to be pushovers like the old regime, and they thinking about future contracts before they even come up. And like one of the callers said, they didn't make Terry look bad. That would have made them look worse than Terry.
Agreed.
They were auditioning for future free agents, and future free agents was watching how we handled that. And if we were snide and dismissive, that would have been turned off for a lot of free agents we would have wanted in the future. But shout out Billy from Chantilly, because the only reason my Uncle Bones ain't shout him out is because Bones is doing what I'm doing, multitasking. He's a DPW veteran, man. We wouldn't get the trash picked up if it wasn't for my Uncle Bones, Kevin. But one thing for sure, Mark from Largo is the smartest man in the world, man.
I just want to tip my cap to him. I'm being facetious.
All right, but listen, he certainly he approaches it with the best intent. There's no doubt about that. And by the way, the result typically is entertaining. Like you. I do respect your intellect a little bit more. All right, what else you got?
No, I just got that, man, because, like, Terry was asking for what he wanted and for what he thought he deserved. I think it was a little tiresome for all sides. And he believes in himself to keep producing like he has producing it. I don't see any way that he's going to demand a trademark from Lago next year because he finally has a dependent quarterback that's top of the league. So why would he demand something? And especially, we're going to be down on Pennsylvania Avenue at the parade. Why the hell would we win a Super Bowl and he demand a trade, man? I'll be down there, Kevin, right beside you.
Talk to you later. Appreciate it. Let's go to Gerald in D.C. Gerald, go ahead. No, Gerald. We'll go to Athen. Athen, go ahead.
Kevin, there's a guy who called in the other day and said something like you were losing your fastball. Let me tell you something. Your fastball's only getting better as the years go by. So
I don't know. Sometimes I'm not sure about that. I'm using a little bit more change up and off speed stuff. But go ahead. Thanks for the compliment. I think.
Let me tell you something. There's two people in this market that are the varsity of sports talk radio, and you're one of them. And you have the best sports podcast in the country. So that's as far as that goes. But as far as Adam Peters. Good job for him. Way to set a precedent because there's a lot of people that are going to be coming due that are owed money. And he's sending a message out to everyone with like a stick of dynamite. Hey, look at the circus this was for the last month. And I'm glad Terry's happy, but he didn't get nearly what he wanted. And that's going to go the same for the rest of you that are, going to do the same antics and request trades and all that. I'm glad Terry got $30 million up front. But this is very team friendly, and this is the way they have to build the team going forward because Terry is getting older, but you got to pay your younger players, get on the youth side, get some more speed on this team, and this leaves the door open to do that.
Yeah, it's interesting. I have written down to talk about something as it relates to the 53-man, which we will get to with Ben. But, Washington is like this 53-man is like the oldest in the league in several years. But your punter and your third string quarterback, certainly skew that in a significant way. I'm not saying Wagner's not old and Von Miller's not old, but you've got, an old punter and you've got, hold on. I had this up earlier before the show began. You have, where is it? Got a 39-year-old backup third string quarterback. You have a where's Tressway? 35-year-old punter. Sorry about that. That definitely skew those numbers. A lot of times your third string quarterback is not 39 years old. Not to mention, by the way, Marcus Mariota is 32 years old or 33, right? Something like that.
To go with the other players you named. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Zach Ertz and Wagner and Von Miller, they have some age. Here's where they don't have age at quarterback. That's good news. Thanks, by the way. Appreciate the compliments and appreciate the call. Let's finish up with Larry in Annapolis. Larry, go ahead.
Good morning,
Larry. You there?
How are you?
Good, Larry. How are you?
Hey, so I was calling. I really had a point in the question. I guess the first point is I'm happy the deal got done. Obviously, I think Terry is an elite receiver, and we need him. I was a little bit offended that people were saying he wasn't as good as Jordan Addison or T. Higgins. Like, I didn't know where that came from. But so I'm happy the deal got done. I will say I look at the gold standards of the NFL with New England and Pittsburgh, and how often do you see them have contentious negotiations that play out publicly? So that's the part that I'm not thrilled about. I wish it could have been handled, kind of behind closed doors, but I guess that's not how these things work in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, Philly's had their fair share of them. Pittsburgh just had one with TJ Watt. They got it done, though. Right. But you're right. Over a long period of time, and maybe somebody will correct me, but the Patriots really were the gold standard of not a lot of contract controversy. But remember, in part, that was because Brady just kept giving. You know, a lot of agents didn't love it. The union didn't love how much Brady, took off the table at times in which he could have gotten, but he wanted it to go back to the rest of the team. But yeah, look, I think every team's had these situations, and it didn't get to the point in which we got to the 3 or 4 days before the opener, and it was still out there, and he wasn't practicing, and he was getting fined, with the possibility of getting suspended. Those were possibilities until this happened. So I'm glad that he took, in the take it or leave it scenario, I'm glad he took it. I think it was smart. And I think the result is a good one. And by the way, it happened with still 13 days left before the opener. Sometimes these things drag into, that first pregame show at 9 a.m. on Sunday of the opener, and the lead story is Terry McLaurin holding out, not playing. We didn't get to that point. And that's good because this is a Super Bowl window season. Paul Charchian will talk some fantasy football with us next. within days away from real football. Actually, tomorrow night and Friday night and Saturday, and Sunday and Monday, if you're a big college football fan like I am. But a week from tomorrow night, we get the actual NFL season started with Philly and Dallas, and then we've got week 1 next weekend. And joining me for, I don't know, a 10th straight year, 11, I have no idea how many years Charch has been coming on the show, but he's one of my favorite people to talk not just fantasy football with, but just football and other things with. Charch is back again. He'll be with us on Thursdays during the season. He's joining us today because that's what worked for both of us this week. At Paul Charchian on X, on Twitter. Charch is a fantasy football expert. His podcasts are Fantasy Football Weekly and Chop. How are you, my friend? How was your off season?
Well, I've missed you. I moved to Utah.
What? From Minneapolis? You're home?
I moved to Utah. I'm out of Minneapolis for better or worse, and I've been vacationing in southern Utah, and it's just so beautiful. And my wife and I looked at each other. We're like, you know what? We're in our 50s. We've been shoveling for 50 years in Minnesota.
Yeah. Well, you're going to shovel some there too, aren't you?
Well, not in southern Utah. Here it's the high desert, so really no snow. And yeah, we're just decided. We still have our mobility. We can go hiking. We can do all the stuff outdoors that Utah's great for. And they're like, you know what? Let's just pull the ripcord. Let's do something different with this stage of our life. So we did it.
Wow, good for you. And by the way, you can do what you do from anywhere.
I can.
My wife, by the way, says that to me all the time. She's like, you can do what you do from anywhere. So let's think about, maybe somewhere else.
Yeah.
But she always has like her eyes on somewhere not here, like Spain or something like that. I don't know if I would do that. I would actually do that, but that would make it harder. But anyway, what do we got? I mean, is it Jamar Chase or is it Bijan Robinson, number 1 overall? Did we lose Charch?
He's still on the line for me. Give me 1 sec.
Okay. Right after I said we can do this from anywhere. Maybe we can't do it from anywhere. Let me know when we've got Charch back.
Yeah, because he was switching to a headset, and I think it may have lost connection. That's just me speculating right now.
Okay. Well, let me know when we have him back. It seems like, by the way, Bijan Robinson, I mean, there's so many great running backs in the league. Saquon Barkley, Bijan, Gibbs, Henry, McCaffrey, if he's healthy. But, man, Bijan's running style is my favorite in the league. It is so effortless. He is a glider, and then a quick foot in the dirt, boom, he's off. Just love the patience of Bijan Robinson. We'll try to get Charch back here so we can talk some fantasy football with him. I am in a league, and our draft is coming up this weekend. Fantasy, as many of you know, for me, is not the same as gambling on games. It's not the same rush, but it's fun enough for sure. Charch, by the way, always a massive Vikings fan. For many years, grew up a Vikings fan, and over the years, we have talked some NFL history, and Charch really knows NFL history around the league, an NFL historian. Many times our conversations go much beyond just fantasy football. By the way, Charch's appearance today on the Team 980 is presented by Paramount Plus. You can't count on much these days, but you can always count on Sundays with the NFL on CBS and Paramount Plus. Watch your local NFL game live every Sunday on CBS and Paramount Plus all season long. Visit ParamountPlus.com/NFL to get started today. Do we have him back?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Charch, you there?
Yes. I hate losing 2 minutes with you.
You know what? I'm going to give you those 2 minutes back. It's August 27th. We're good. But I know you've got a busy lineup, so you tell me when you need to roll. But I asked you, I said, is it basically Chase or Bijan Robinson as the top pick in most drafts?
Hey, Chase is going first overall in almost every draft, Kevin, and you can make case for Bijan Robinson. I think the real question is, after Chase, where do you go? Because Chase has been so good, so much volume, stays healthy. And the Bengals defense is going to be awful again. They're going to be passing constantly. So there's a real opportunity for Chase to be every bit as good this year as he was last year. Of course, if you like somebody else, always go get your guys. I mean, it's one of the biggest mistakes people make on draft day, Kevin, is you're drafting at ESPN or Yahoo or Guillotine Links or wherever, and you see the list of players and you feel like, oh, I'm supposed to take these guys that are near the top of the list.
Right.
And go get your guys. I mean, nothing worse than come out of a draft and you're like, I don't even like the players on my own team. Go get your guys. And if that means you have to pay early, you got to go spend a round early, you got to reach around to get the guys you love. That's, then go reach around if that's what you need to do. Go get your guys at pick 1. Again, I'd take Chase. You want to take Bijan? That's fine. The real question is at pick 2, you could go a half dozen different ways. Bijan.
What's
Saquon.
the biggest mistake, though, Charch, players make in PPR leagues in terms of the first round?
Well,
is drafting a quarterback a big mistake in the first round?
Yeah, it is, because they don't catch, then they don't get the PPR points.
Yeah.
So if you want one of the big 4, my draft strategy for this year, and it's this way most years, if I can't, I want one of the 4 great mobile quarterbacks, including the one you have in your town. I want Jaden Daniels or Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen or Jalen Hurts. One of those guys. That's roughly 3rd round to get those guys.
Yeah.
Or I'm just letting that position go, baby. And we'll come back round 10, round 11, round 12, and we'll pick up quarterbacks then. And if I can't get one of those special dual threat guys with explosive upside, then they're kind of all the same.
How do you see? Let's go running back. So you definitely have Bijan Robinson as the number 1 running back.
I've got him number 1. Barkley. Too.
Why?
Yes.
Why do most people have him ahead of Saquon Barkley?
Here's my rationale. Saquon Barkley scored 7 touchdowns from over 40 yards last year. That's not going to happen again. His quarterback is always going to steal the up-close touchdown. Right. So there could be some sneaky downside on Barkley. Yep. Robinson catches the ball a ton. And let me give you a very revealing stat on Robinson. His offensive coordinator, Zach Robinson, last year, inside the 5 for the Falcons, completed 4 passes all year, ran the ball 27 times.
Yeah.
Robinson is the man at the stripe, and I feel like that's just, to me, a little bit of the differential for Robinson.
By the way, I was saying when we lost you, Bijan Robinson is one of my favorite backs to watch, maybe my favorite back to watch, because his style is very unique. He's kind of a glider, and then all of a sudden, boom, the foot hits the ground, and then there's this acceleration. Like, his gifts are way up there. But stylistically, don't you think he's really unique? Like, is there an obvious historical comp for the way Bijan Robinson runs? It's not Le'Veon Bell. He doesn't wait behind the line of scrimmage for, a 2 count before he goes, but he's like a glider. Is that, who comes to mind as a comp for his running style?
Well, just to be clear, I'm going to give you a Hall of Famer because he's the first guy that jumped to my mind, and so I'm not putting Bijan Robinson at Eric Dickerson's
I was going to say
yet.
Dickerson, yeah.
Yep, but that's stylistically, I think there's a little something there. Dickerson also had the glide and then the acceleration. It just poof, he's gone.
Yeah.
What happened? Just outrunning everybody. So that's the comp that immediately jumps to my mind. But let me tell you about who I've got at running back 3. Ashton Genty.
Already.
Man, I just you don't run into opportunities like this for very many players where you are an astounding college producer on the ground, through the air, pass protection, and you drop into a system that's going to run the wheels off you. I mean, the productivity opportunity is so high. And sure, I'd love it if Genty was on a different team, but Pete Carroll had his Marshawn Lynch beast mode for years. He's got his new beast mode. Chip Kelly's the offensive coordinator. Last time Chip Kelly was a head coach in the NFL back a decade ago when he was with the Eagles, he ran the ball inside the 5 and an 84% rate. Never threw. So I think it's going to be just a monster year for Ashton Genty.
That's interesting. I mean, I can envision, as you said that about Chip Kelly, obviously it was always up tempo, and they were just hammering it in from the 5. Christian McCaffrey to me is a very interesting guy because he could easily be 80 receptions, 1,200 plus yards, and he could also be done for the year after week 1. So how do you handle Christian McCaffrey?
Biggest high risk, high reward player in this draft is Christian McCaffrey. If you want to take him, you're going to have to take him roughly pick 8, which is where he's going right now. So there are 7 people in your league that are passing on him. Maybe they're cowards. Maybe they're doing exactly what they ought to be doing with Christian McCaffrey. The reason I'm not drafting him is, and week 1, we're all going to feel like morons for not drafting him. Because week 1, he's going to be great, and they're going to throw it a million times, and McCaffrey's going to be great. Do you want to put your first round equity into an aging running back, the position that has the highest failure rate, running back? Over the last 6 years, McCaffrey has been either fantastic or he's cost you your year. I don't want to put that much risk at the top of my draft and my most valuable selections. I put risk and running back risk, especially into the middle of my draft. I want sure things in the first round, or as close to sure things as we can get. Justin Jefferson, C.D. Lamb, Puka Nacua, Nico Collins. Give me safe players in the first round. I don't want to put risk at my most valuable draft selections.
Let's stick with running back, and then we'll come back to wide receiver and quarterback here in a moment. But give me the back that you think is under the radar and will be a steal at some point. You mentioned Genty, but beyond that, because Genty's going to go really high.
Okay, so I'm going to give you another player that's going high, but not high enough. Chase Brown for Cincinnati.
Oh, my God. I was going to say Dickerson, and I've got Chase Brown right now highlighted. I swear to God.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
So tell everybody why you like Chase Brown.
The Bengals runner is the do-everything workhorse in what should be a top 5 scoring offense.
Yeah.
He gets the ball at the stripe. They started throwing to him in the middle of last year. And from week 9 forward, second half of the year, last year, Chase Brown was number 2 in running back utilization and number 4 in PPR points scored by running backs. And he walks right into this same role where they're going to throw to him all year now. Chase Brown's got 2,000-yard upside if everything breaks right. He'll catch 600 yards, and he might run for 1,400 yards. So Chase Brown, to me, I've got him at running back 5. Typically he's going off the board like running back 10, running back 11.
Yeah.
So I love Chase Brown, and one of my favorite players to dramatically outperform his draft spot. And then if I can give you a deeper player, if you don't mind.
Yeah, please.
Staying at the running back position, because that's what you asked for. Probably my favorite overall sleeper, and I've been banging the drum of this guy since March, which is why you and I should talk more in the offseason. Jordan Mason in Minnesota is going to be in a no less than a 50-50 timeshare in the backfield, and he's going to get all the goal line carries. The Vikings massively improved their offensive line through the interior. They're going to run way more this year with J.J. McCarthy at quarterback. This is going to be a much more balanced offense than it has been at any other time under Kevin O'Connell. And Jordan Mason is going to get all of those goal line carries. Last year, Aaron Jones just isn't built for this. Last year, Aaron Jones had 13 carries from inside the 5 for -2 rushing yards and 3 touchdowns on the season.
Yeah.
And when I asked Aaron Jones about Jordan Mason, he told me Jordan Mason's going to get the short yardage work. So That's as good a source as you need on Jordan Mason, and why I think he's going to be potentially a double-digit touchdown scorer this year.
I thought you were going to mention potentially Hubbard or Connor, because I think both of those teams are interesting offensively this year. Maybe not as rough in Carolina here in year 2 of that system than people are expecting. All right, wide receiver wise, all right, I mean, it's Chase, it's Jefferson. You've mentioned Nakua. Obviously, Lamb's going to be at the top. Give me, somebody kind of wide receiver 10 or below that you really like.
Cortland Sutton is vastly
He's
underdrafted
a good player
right
too,
now.
healthy, man.
Yes,
good receiver.
He is a good player. I really like Cortland Sutton, and one of the things I love about him, he is such an alpha receiver on his team. I mean, after Cortland Sutton, the next wide receiver up is Marvin Mims. And he's got the big body, the contested catches, perfect for end zone use. In fact, second highest end zone target percentage among wide receivers last year, Cortland Sutton. Bo Nix turned very functional over the course of the season as a passer and started really identifying Cortland Sutton. And we saw Sutton play so much better after Nix really stabilized about week 6 forward. And if you think Bo Nix has got room to get better as a sophomore, then you got to love his alpha receiver, Cortland Sutton. Currently going off the board, wide receiver as ADP, wide receiver 28. I've got him at wide receiver 16. So I've got a big delta on him, and I like him a lot more than other people do.
All right. Real quickly, we'll end with quarterbacks. I was talking about a player either yesterday or on Monday that I think people are going to become – I think he's going to become a household name this year. And not that people in the league don't understand how good this player is, but I think a lot of fans think Kittle, think Brock Bowers. Trey McBride is the real deal. Is he anywhere near tight end 1? I would assume Bowers is 1.
Bowers is 1, and McBride's 2. And then there's some separation to the next guy. Yeah, we would love McBride. And, last year struggled with the touchdowns. And if you remember, they got to like week 16 or 17, and he had sitting in no touchdowns. So they started throwing to the end zone. Like, they didn't want him to go the whole year without scoring. So they had one game where they made up for it, and they threw him in the end zone all the time and finally got him his touchdown.
That's true. I remember. Yeah, that's right. It was a while, and yet he was a highly productive player, just no touchdowns.
Yes. McBride was going crazy, like leading. I think he was either leading all tight ends in receptions or right there with Brock Bowers. And you remember Brock Bowers set the all-time rookie record for receptions at any position last year, which is pretty crazy as a rookie. And it's part of why we love him. But if there's anybody that's going to have the regression on touchdowns, it's the positive regression. It's going to be Trey McBride. I mean, the last 2 years, he's been targeted 106 times and 147 times. That's 253 targets. You only have 5 touchdowns those 2 years. It's got to, it's just sooner or later, you can't have the ball coming your way that often and only average 2.5 touchdowns a year. So the touchdowns are going to come. Trey McBride's my number 2 tight end this year.
All right, we're talking to Paul Charchian, everybody. Charch is going to be with us again throughout this upcoming NFL season. Let's just end with quarterbacks. You mentioned the top 4. Do you have them in an order? Do you have a specific order that you're confident about? Or could you shake them up in any which way and be fine with either Allen, Lamar, Jaden, or Hurts?
Yeah, take whoever you like. If you're going to go that way, take whoever you like. The reason I've got Jaden 3rd. The reason to move Jaden, to not have Jaden 1, I think is just health concern, just injury concern because he's slight of build, but that might not mean anything. And, we don't know that. What I love about Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts is the tush push. It's unreplicatable. Not everybody can tush push. Lamar Jackson can't. And Lamar Jackson over the last 3 years, he has 3 touchdowns from inside the 5. They don't use him that way.
Yeah.
That's it.
I thought you were going to give me specific quarterback sneak data.
Yeah. Yes. Well, which is very close. This is inside the 5 data, but it's effectively quarterback sneak data as well. Hurts and Allen just give you that advantage of just piling up 10 plus rushing touchdowns every year. And there's a certain safety with that. Whereas Jackson and Daniels break off these 50-yard touchdown runs. they've got the open field speed, and they can help you with their legs in different ways, but not the tush push way.
All right, give me a QB, after, Burrow, I'm assuming, is 5 or Mahomes, right? One of the two?
Yeah, Burrow, yeah. And actually, I've got Mahomes down a bit, but yeah,
okay.
I've got Burrow, then Bo Nix, actually. The player to target, the quarterback to target later in your draft, or what at least I'm doing, Drake May. With Drake May, you do get rushing. He's not at the level of the 4 guys we just talked about, but he's 500 yards, 5 rushing touchdowns. That's real numbers. Downright gallant last year, playing behind the worst offensive line in football and the worst set of receivers last year for the Patriots. They now have competent coaching in New England. Josh McDaniels is back. Mike Vrabel is there. And they've got Stephon Diggs to throw to now. This is going to be and Travion Henderson might catch 60 passes this year. There's just so many things there's so many reasons to think the Patriots offense is going to be better, and that Drake May, who was a decent fantasy producer last year, is going to make a big jump in year 2.
What do you think of the opportunity with a Kyler Murray?
Hard to get excited. The Cardinals have the exact same 11 starters on offense they had last year.
Right.
Which almost never happens. They did not put a single upgrade into that offense. Not one. And I feel like we've just seen what we've got out of Kyler Murray. We don't get close rushing touchdowns. He runs some, not a lot. The passing is highly inconsistent. I just think that his cap is what we've already seen. And if you want to know part of the reason why last year we had so many struggles with Marvin Harrison, he'd give us 2-catch, 25-yard games. He was getting misfired on a lot by Kyler Murray, and those two were not on the same page a lot. Hopefully it gets better this year, but I just think we've seen who Kyler Murray is, and from a fantasy standpoint, it's quarterback 10, quarterback 12.
Can't wait to do this with you every week. Appreciate it. Glad the move went well, and you guys are happy in southern Utah. Won't be able to talk snowstorms in November or October. I think one of those years it was like a Halloween blizzard, and I had you on like the day after or something. Man, that would be rough to have that as your climate. But thanks, Charge. Look forward to it.
International Falls, Minnesota, yesterday.
What was it?
They had a frost warning because the lows were going to dip near 32 degrees.
Yeah. Well,
yesterday.
International Falls is very north of Minneapolis, St. Paul.
It is the northernmost point of the continental U.S., but still, here it is. It's August.
A bit too early, August 26th, to have that, although it's been beautiful weather here as well. All right, I'll talk to you next week. Thanks.
Bye-bye. Thanks.
Paul Charchi and everybody. We'll talk 53-man cut down next. Kevin Sheehan Show, the Team 980, theteam980.com. Don't forget, you can watch us now on our Team 980 YouTube channel. Hit the subscribe button and hit the like button when you get there. The 53-man cut down yesterday. God, I kind of felt like, we'll talk to Ben about this, wasn't a lot of drama league-wide for the most part. There was a little drama, though, if you pay attention to our team and the Chargers. Oh, boy. Don't go here. I think we have to, though. Taylor Heineke's available, everybody.
QB3?
Chargers released him. Marcus Mariota still dealing with, the tendinitis stuff. I have no idea if he's going to be ready for the opener. It's Achilles tendinitis, something like that. I think Ben tweeted out at some point. They kept 39-year-old Josh Johnson, I think a future coach in this league or on a coaching staff. Sam Hartman, gone. There's a lot of belief that they'll sign Sam Hartman to the practice squad. Taylor Heineke's available, people. Trey Lance beat him out for QB3 in LA. What do you think? Taylor Heineke added to this roster, 301-230-0980, as a potential third string when Mariota's healthy, potentially second string early in the season if Mariota's not ready to go. 301-230-0980. Do you have interest, sincerely, in re-signing or going out and signing Taylor Heineke to the 53-man roster? And by the way, at that point, moving on from Josh Johnson. This, would be a Josh Johnson QB3. Look, it's very possible that if Marcus Mariota were healthy, that Josh Johnson would have been released too, and they would have gone with two quarterbacks and then just obviously had practice squad, a practice squad QB or two, for that third quarterback possibility. Taylor Heineke, yes or no? 301-230-0980. Look, all kidding aside, and I'm not kidding about the calls. I do want to hear your opinion. Taylor Heineke's a backup quarterback in the league and a pretty decent backup quarterback in the league. I'm actually surprised he got beat out by Trey Lance. Look, Trey Lance has some upside to him. He was traded up for and taken at number 3 overall in the draft. He is actually, now that I look at their R-lads, it looks like he's actually the backup to Justin Herbert. He's the backup to Justin Herbert. And it looks like they kept two quarterbacks on the final roster, Lance and Herbert. Now, they could end up with DJU or Taylor back on the practice squad. Maybe the plan is to put Taylor back on the practice squad. But 301-230-0980, Taylor Heineke is out there. Marcus Mariota's dealing with some, Achilles tendinitis. I hope he's ready to go week 1. I think Marcus Mariota's right up there, top 5, top 6, 7 in the league in backup quarterbacks. I would say right now, and this isn't just because I like him, I would say this objectively, Kirk Cousins is clearly the number 1 backup QB in the league in Atlanta for Michael Penix Jr. But Taylor Heineke is a solid backup quarterback and would be more than acceptable as a number 3 if you wanted to carry 3. I don't know what he would cost. I don't even know what Taylor Heineke made with the Chargers, what he signed for. I'd have to look that up. But if it's QB3 money, sure, why not? Now, the drama of having Taylor Heineke because of a few fans, and he had more than a few, but the one in particular that I'm talking about, the team wouldn't care about her. I don't think they really would spend a lot of time thinking about Sabah and her weekly, he's better than Jaden Daniels. We've got to start him if we're going to have a chance to win the Super Bowl. But Taylor Heineke, yes or no? 301-230-0980. Let me be honest. The drama, I wouldn't want to hear from Sabah every week about how he should be starting. But Taylor Heineke is an NFL quarterback, a backup quarterback, And as a QB3, if it's for not much money, yeah. God forbid Jaden goes down and then Mariota goes down. I mean, Josh Johnson is okay. Super smart. Taylor's always been a gamer, man. Always been a gamer. Real quickly, and I'll talk more about this with Ben, obviously, at 12. Not Taylor Heineke, although why not? In terms of the 53-man cutdown, I guess I was surprised that they only kept 5 receivers. McLaurin, Debo, Noah Brown, Jalen Lane, and Luke McCaffrey. Maybe they'll add a 6th. Look, the roster is a dynamic kind of, thing between now and opening day, and then even more dynamic between for them. Week 2 comes pretty quickly in the form of a Thursday night game. So I guess I thought Ja'Cory Brooks had a really good chance to make the roster, especially after we saw KJ Osborne get released. I'd be surprised if Brooks isn't signed to a practice squad spot for them. Cahill did make the team. Good for him. He looked like a football player. Again, it's preseason, but man, the intensity, the urgency, the running ability, the tackling ability, loved it from Ale Cahill. A lot of UCLA guys, including Medrano too. Cahill, with Ken Norton Jr. at linebacker. But not a lot of drama in the 53-man cutdown, that's for sure. Cleveland Farrell, is that, shocking? I don't think so. All right. 301-230-0980. Taylor Heineke got released. Let me just say, I'd be surprised if the Chargers don't attempt to sign him back to the practice squad. But he will hit the waiver wire. Would you have an issue if the team went and signed Taylor Heineke to be QB3? Because right now there is some question about Marcus Mariota's availability early in the year. And you got Josh Johnson. They kept Josh Johnson probably for that reason. It's very possible they would have released him and then signed Hartman and or Josh Johnson back to the practice squad and kept 2 on the 53-man. Of course, listening and first in, Sabah. So how excited would you be if they did this?
Absolutely, Kevin. He'll be perfect because he kind of plays like Jaden. He can scramble, he can run. He's a gamer. He doesn't get nervous when the chips are all in.
Yeah.
He's like now Jaden obviously probably looks better in practice than Taylor because that's why Taylor really never got a real chance to be QB1 anywhere. But
because why? Because he didn't practice well?
Must not have, because he doesn't look good, I guess, on the arm, whatever they do in practice, because, why wouldn't he ever be QB1? And if he succeeded and got us out of the doldrums with Ron Rivera, oh, my God, and the Scott Turner offense, he could do wonders in this offense.
You always bash Scott Turner. The reason Taylor Heineke is in the league is because of Scott Turner. Scott Turner saw him the same way you did. Not as a starter, not crazy like your thoughts on Taylor, but he's the one reason he's in the league is Scott Turner.
I got that, but just because I build a house don't give me the right to burn it down. Okay,
well, he didn't burn it down. He was better than the coordinator that followed him.
Yeah, but he didn't help him out on the offense. I'm sorry, but anyway, the point is, Ron Rivera was the problem, and he still survived that guy. He will do wonders on this team, and also. He'll be like a coach in the room, the quarterback room. He will teach Jaden a lot about reading defenses and stuff. And I think he will stick with this team long term as a coach because I think in his heart, he loves the Redskins. This is where we allowed him to make his $19 million and some change that he has now made in the NFL. And I think the reason the Chargers got rid of him because he was making too much money. I think he's making like 2.6 or something like that million.
$2.5
where the
million
other guys probably making like 600
$2.5 million.
How much?
$2.5 million in 1 year. And by the way, $2 million of it was guaranteed.
Right.
So they were moving on from the $2 million guaranteed. But anyway, I mean, everything you've said, now you've had, a bit of an unusual take over the years, but very, very passionate and very emphatic.
At the time, Kevin.
But everything you said
he was
about
our number one. He was better than Wentz and was better than Fitzpatrick. So.
He's smart. He is a gamer. He is a great culture locker room guy. Those things are true.
And
by the way, they've got a lot of mentors for Jaden, in that locker room. It's not like they are desperate for more mentors, but Taylor would certainly fit. And the offensive fit wouldn't be a bad one for him with Cliff Kingsbury.
No, he's
Thank
very
you.
mobile. He loves our teams. Let's take him. Let's get him.
Would
Let's
you
go.
be able?
Let's go.
Here's a question for you.
Yeah. Yes. Sir.
Let's just say Jaden had one off game and Taylor's on the roster as QB3 behind Mariota. Could you restrain yourself from calling every show in town and pleading with the host to scream he should jump Mariota and be in the starting lineup the next week?
Well, I definitely think he's better than Mariota, but he's not better than Jaden Daniels. So I would never say he should play instead of Jaden if Jaden has a bad game. But I definitely would say he should play instead of Mariota. The Mariota looked kind of good this past season. So I don't know if that's just the offensive coordinator or what, but I'm not a big Mariota fan. But I would not ever say he should play over Jaden Daniels because I think I would literally get death threats by our fan base, and I don't need any of that.
Hopefully you wouldn't get that.
Okay.
Although social media is nuts, as you know. But what about 2 or 3 bad games in a row?
If Jaden's having bad games with Cliff Kingsbury, I don't see where any other quarterback is going to have a better game because I really love this offense. And
Good
I think the only
restraint
reason Jaden would have a bad game is like he did in the middle of the season where he lost that first initial quick get out of jail pass. And that goes with your confidence. Like when you know you're hurt, your ribs are hurting, you're not as comfortable with what you're doing. And everything's a little off. And that's what I noticed those, 3-game span where, he was average. And if he
actually was better than average. He had one of his best games during the rib soreness stretch. The game in which Jaden really didn't play well last year was the quick turnaround Thursday night game against Vic Fangio and the Eagles. That was the game in which he looked human. Didn't look human most of the other games.
Well,
thanks,
still
Sabah.
Human. Let's don't go crazy. I mean, hey, the truth will do, Kevin, about Jaden. How I am with Taylor, you're like that with Jaden. Calm it down a little bit. Bring it down some.
Well, I don't know. I think I'm speaking truth about Jaden. But thanks, Sabah. Appreciate it. Ian is calling in about Taylor Heineke, not the Terry contract. But he did send me a note on DM. So I do want to acknowledge that, your plea for me to just fess up and apologize to everybody the other day. You did reach out via DM, like you have in the past, and like I have back at you in the past to say, hey, was a little bit off on that one. But go ahead on Taylor if you want to start there.
Yeah, absolutely. I was way off. I would have guessed 58 to 60 million, kind of your draw scenario. So I was way off there. I'm so glad I went after Sabah, and I thought she'd have such a different take on that. And it's amazing how much Cliff Kingsbury's talked about, because my opinion is, and this is where I do agree with you, Jaden's the son and everything revolves around him.
Well, that's
I think if Cliff left tomorrow, I wouldn't change my win total by 1 millimeter. Like, I just think he's the difference maker and that. But no, I don't want Taylor Heineke. I think when you're a backup quarterback, and we've seen this with the Chase Daniel model, is your job is to be invisible. It's to be a non-presence. You shouldn't be talked about at all. And Taylor Heineke, even outside of Sabah, has, I don't want to say a presence here, but too much of a presence to be a backup quarterback. I think the Josh Johnson, Marcus Mariota model is just much better. Now, if you think Jaden's going to get hurt and the way he plays, and he was Gumby last year, but this year he could get hurt, then I would want a much more adequate replacement than Taylor Heineke, because I personally don't think I don't even think he's a good backup. Like, we've seen him enough to know maybe a game, but I don't have a lot of faith in him. I think we've seen enough. So
yeah, I think actually Mariota is the perfect backup quarterback, because number one, he plays stylistically the same way. Number two, he's a veteran. Number three, he is a bright guy and very well liked. So would Taylor Heineke. I disagree with Sabah. I think Mariota's, I actually liked Mariota for a few of those years, and I thought he had a chance to be a decent NFL starter consistently. He had some years in there, but clearly he was not, the upper echelon, even the top half of the league starting quarterback for a career that I thought he had a chance to be. But he's a better quarterback than Taylor Heineke. But as number 3, knowing the culture guy that he is, etc. Yeah, I think that wouldn't be terrible, other than just a lot of conversation. But I think most people are grown-ups and could move beyond, calling for him to start. And even Sabah said she wouldn't do that. All right, Ian, thanks. Paulie wants to weigh in. Would you do Taylor back up QB3?
L to the W. What's going on, big guy?
What's up?
What I do Taylor as the backup QB. With this team, yeah.
QB3. Mariota's the backup. Now, he might have to be the backup in the opener or maybe for the first couple of weeks if Mariota's healthy, but you're signing him to be QB3, and you're letting Josh Johnson go.
Yeah, I would.
You would?
Team, I would, with this team and the talent that's around him. And I think Cliff know how to scheme up a good offense for him if he had to play. And I don't think it would be any type of threat. Come on, man. We all know with the talent, you gotta have CTE if you call it for Taylor Heineke to start over Jada Daniels.
You don't get CTE cutting lawns, do you?
Damn sure don't, man.
Yeah.
But let me say this. So the Terry number, the guarantee was what, 44 and a half, something like that?
44.65, I think, yeah.
Okay, so you know what? I think Terry got what he wanted with the 30 or 30 plus or whatever, and I think the team got what they wanted with the guarantees, So, Sheehan, I want to salute you this whole off season because you did a hell of a job of being the assistant to the assistant vice president.
Okay. Thanks for your condescension and sarcasm, but doesn't mean that I don't like having you on. Good job, Paulie. Yeah, I mean, Taylor Heineke, quarterback 3, why not? Why not? Ben Standig coming up at 12. Kevin Sheehan Show, the Team 980, theteam980.com. We're free and live on the Odyssey app. And I do want you to know that this past segment of the show was brought to you by Staples. Your local Staples has hot deals and super low prices throughout the store on everything for your business. And right now at Staples, save up to $125 off your print order. Exclusions apply. Visit staples.com/print for details. Ends 9/13 and save even more with the Easy Rewards program at Staples. from our good friend Neil in Rockville. We'll see a tweet from RG3 offering to back up and mentor Jaden Daniels. Yeah, that's got to be coming, right? At some point. Now, remember, there's not a big, feeling out there that Washington's desperate for a backup quarterback because they aren't if Marcus Mariota is healthy. But yeah, that would be funny if there was a report that Marcus Mariota could be in jeopardy of missing the opener or maybe the first part of the season. There's no doubt that RG3 would put his hat into the ring. And it would be all about coming in to be able to mentor Jaden Daniels. Golf fans, Keegan Bradley did not pick himself for the Ryder Cup team. Decided against becoming what would have been the Ryder Cup's first playing captain in 62 years, even though the case for Keegan Bradley being on the team was a decent one. Justin Thomas, Colin Morikawa, Ben Griffin, Cam Young, Patrick Cantlay, and Sam Burns are the 6 captain picks for next month's Ryder Cup at Bethpage Black in Nassau County, New York, Long Island. Looking forward to that for sure. All right. Ben Standig's going to join us. He's coming up next. We'll talk 53-man. We'll talk a little bit of the Terry contract as well. The details are in. We talked about that during the first hour of the broadcast. And, how typically this is a dynamic situation with the 53-man. Remember, Noah Brown was signed after the 53-man last year. There's still a chance with all of the cuts, and Washington doesn't have a very high position in the pecking order. Remember, it's based on last year's records. For many years, Washington, had an early swing at some of the waiver wire guys, not the veteran guys, 4 years or less in terms of the players released. But this year, not so much because of a 12-5 regular season. And by the way, that is something that stays in place through the first 3 weeks of the regular season, regardless of your record in the first 3 weeks of the regular season. So Washington, way down the list, hard to get, good players that hit the waiver wire with so many teams having the right to nab that player in front of them. All right, we'll get to Ben Standig next. Kevin Sheehan Show, the Team 980, the team980.com. And yes, you can watch us on the Team 980's YouTube channel. Please hit the subscribe button and the like button when you get there. Ben Standing's with us. Why do you always play I'm Still Standing, Elton John, coming into Ben Standing's segment? I just kind of heard that for like the third straight day. Or
It's his intro.
It is?
Yes, because Denton played it before. And I asked Denton, I was like,
I'm just realizing this.
And this is what we play.
Well, Ben Standing's doing a lot more than just still standing.
That's true.
By the way, still standing kind of means that he's been standing all along very tall, and I think I've recognized that. I hope others are starting to recognize that. He had the Brian Robinson Jr. thing before anybody did. 53-man roster, nobody does it better. We were certainly talking the other day, carefully, but certainly discussing the fact that no guaranteed dollars from Terry's agent meant perhaps the deal will look a little different when we get the actual numbers, which, of course, we've talked about it today. It does. Yeah, Ben will be with us all season long, every Monday and Friday at 12, Mondays after games. And when they play on Monday night and Thursday night, and we got a lot of those things coming up, he'll be with us that next day as well. Where do we start? How about this? You think Washington should be interested in Taylor Heineke as QB3?
I tweeted out yesterday that he was released, which I'm sure is what you're referring to. And I honestly just did it because he's Taylor Heineke and he's a thing. And like, I wasn't doing it to be like, hey, Adam Peters, bring him back. But clearly that's how people took it, including people who we know who yelled at me for trying to instigate something. But I don't think Taylor Heineke will be coming here, but hopefully he lands a job somewhere.
People were upset that you were trying to instigate something with just a simple tweet that said the Chargers released QB Taylor Heineke?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I love the games that everybody plays. No, I just did a quick call segment. Of course, Sabah was on, before the show started, hoping that I would do the segment on Taylor Heineke. In all seriousness, he'd be a good fit for this group as a QB3.
Well, all things being equal, sure. I mean, they want mobility out of the position. Obviously, he certainly has that. We know the arm strength isn't there, but Cliff is good at conjuring up plays to work towards the strengths and weaknesses of the quarterback. The issue is in the short term is why Josh Johnson is here, I believe, because they got to let Mariota sort of ramp back up after missing most of training camp. They need somebody who knows the system. Johnson's been here, yada, yada. So that's why I wouldn't think you would replace Johnson with almost anybody for now. But if in 3 weeks Mariota's good, then who knows?
What do you think Mariota's going to be for next Sunday?
Well, again, like with all these injuries, they're suggesting that he is heading in the right direction. But I guess, he just hasn't practiced. So it's not that maybe he will be fine by week 1, but you still have to take these steps to get there. It's like, if asking, is Terry going to be able to play his usual amount of snaps at week 1? I don't know. We have to see where he's at with his football conditioning over the next, he's got less than 2 weeks to get ready for week 1 in that regard. So I could sit here and say, sure, but until they see him out there in the practice field, they won't know for sure what he can do. So I think it's just the same thing with Mariota. Not to say he won't be ready for week 1. It's that until they definitively know he is, they have to have some sort of insurance.
All right. Give me your overall thoughts on where we are with the 53-man cut down. Obviously, it's always a dynamic situation between now, even in the first couple of weeks of the season. But first, what'd you make of how they got down to 53?
Well, I'll just say broadly, I mean, it's clear that the roster has improved in several areas, right? We've talked before about the cornerbacks, just massive difference from where they were a year ago at this time. The defensive line certainly is deeper than it was a year ago. Now that Terry is back and Noah Brown is able to get back, Deebo Samuel has been really, really good this summer. So now you've upgraded at that role with Deebo Samuel, and now they have a much more upside at the receiver position they did a year ago. Not to mention Jaden's got another year of experience, et cetera. So all that is important. Now, in terms of what really kind of happened yesterday, I think the biggest thing, and this is not just for Washington, this is kind of league-wide, I'm looking like, this is an incredibly uninspiring group of cuts. I've reading other reports.
Yeah, I agree. I mentioned that for a cut-down date, there weren't like major headlines. Like the headline at one point yesterday was Tommy DeVito got cut. I'm like, what? That's breaking news worthy? But it kind of speaks to kind of a benign day comparatively.
Yeah, and even when you say like, well, look, there may be some sneaky talent out there that we just don't know about that scouts do. But I texted some, folks this morning with different teams, and my basic text was kind of what I just said to you. Boy, what an uninspiring group! And one personnel executive just sent me back, a bunch of exclamation marks. Another one was just like, yeah, this is pretty vanilla. There's nothing really here. And I say that because I thought at first I was like, boy, is this a sign of Washington just really didn't have nearly the depth that maybe we all were discussing, throughout the summer to a degree, that they would have some tough decisions? Because I don't know that there really were tough decisions. But it's not just them. I think league wide this was the case. I don't know exactly why, other than maybe teams are just getting better at assessing who they need to keep, or I also think there's a lot of veteran free agents from the sort of the middle class who weren't even in camps and will probably start getting signed soon, and maybe that aspect played a role here. But in terms of Washington, so I got 51 of 53 out of my projection. I'm not saying that to be like, oh, well, that's a good number. I'm saying that because the only things I got wrong were two defensive linemen. I had Jalen Holmes, Carl Davis in. They went with Eddie Goldman, and then obviously keeping Josh Johnson. For me, it was like there's like 14 defensive linemen for 10 spots. They only kept 9. Everything else was fairly obvious. And again, I'm not saying that because I got it right. I'm saying that because of what other options were they going to do? I never thought they would keep 6 receivers because they barely have 5 right now that you feel completely comfortable with if you needed to start a game. The 4 tight ends, that seemed pretty logical. 5 cornerbacks, sure, maybe they could tack on a 6, but again, who was that person going to be? There was nobody that was particularly obvious, and so on. So, I guess it's like it wasn't a lot of drama. There weren't nearly the decisions that had to be made that I think we typically see, even for when this team was bad. There's always some decisions at the end like, ooh, what are they going to do? Brian Robinson getting traded the week prior, that was the big deal, but that already happened. So there wasn't much drama there, and I think it was all pretty straightforward for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, if we got from Dan Quinn and Adam Peters where you were 3.5, 4 weeks ago to where you are now, what player on that final 53-man was a surprise? I guess it would be someone like Cahill or maybe Jacob Martin, but I can't come up with anybody else.
Yeah, I mean, Cahill would be an obvious one, undrafted free agent. I don't think I had him on any of my projections until this last one, but I did have him on my last one. To a degree, Bill Krosky-Merritt. He was a draft pick, and he showed some good things back in the spring, but it wasn't until training camp that when you watch him day after day, you're like, oh, there's something interesting here happening. Chris Rodriguez probably doesn't make the roster if Brian Robinson is still here, but he also had to show that he was worthy of being on the roster. And I think he did that over the course of the summer. But yeah, beyond that, there was nothing really interesting. They even brought in like a George Fant to take a roster spot because they were like, they kept coming up with one body short on the offensive line. So yeah, there really weren't, any surprises. Last year when Colson Yankoff made the team, I was kind of like, whoa, okay, I didn't see that one coming. This year, I don't think there was any of that.
So how do you respond to the fact that Washington's average age of their 53-man roster is at 28.1 years old? It's the first time that any team has been an average of 28 years of age or older for their 53-man in the last 12 years.
Wow. Well, I mean, that's pretty fascinating. My view on this, and this stems back to, we're not going to get into it, but the whole notion of, are they all in or whatever? This roster lacked so much depth or talent that when inherited,
right,
that in order to fill in the gaps, they had to get guys who could produce immediately. And also from last year, that was about building the culture. So all these vets, whether it was Bobby Wagner or other guys down the line, they were brought in for a specific purpose to help that aspect, as well as give you some sort of immediate contribution, and you'll worry about the long term later. They ended up going with the same approach this time. They made a couple of trades that took away some draft picks. And so I think it is, again, more of a short-term fix. And I think because they had the success they had last year, it wasn't like Peters or Quinn could say, well, we don't have to go, we don't have to kind of, try to stay in the contender lane, because if you're a 7-win team, you're not even there. So I think they had to be like, well, what do we do now? How do we stay here? So they had to bring back a lot of the guys that they brought back. And then plenty of the other additions were guys who were typically, more experienced on the older end, 1-year deals and so on. So this will be something we'll have to discuss for next year. But for now, yeah, I mean, it's very interesting. The scary part is, if you're going to pick not to be an ageist, but if you're going to pick a group that's going to be more susceptible to injuries or a steep decline, the 30+ year old players are the ones. Of course, guys like Bobby Wagner, Zach Ertz, they're not showing signs of slowing down based on last year, but these things happen. We just had this whole conversation about why Terry McLaurin, turning 30 was a big deal. There's 21 guys in the roster, I think, who are 30 or plus this year. So they got a lot of guys there's going to be some questions about potentially.
We can get Jan Levinson Gould to come in and explain ageism to us if we want that to happen. I know you remember the episode. We are talking, of course, to Ben Standig at Ben Standig on X on Twitter. Ben writes on Substack. I'm a subscriber. I would urge you guys to be as well. I guess, there's always the possibility some big ad. We saw Noah Brown last year. What are the chances it happens again? And then what would the position be?
Well, I think it would be the same position. Again, the rub is, just looking at the list, I don't know that there's anybody out there that's like Noah Brown seemed very obvious last year. I had already heard, back in free agency that they were interested in him, but he ended up staying with Houston. So there was already that notion in my head, but I think a lot of people picked up on that because Noah Brown has had some success in the league already. Martez with Valdez Scantling is out there. I'm pretty sure he's going to go with another team. But I talked myself into thinking, could he be the De'Ami Brown this year? Just tell him to run go routes and Jaden will give you the ball. So maybe you can find some players with specific talent that you think you can exploit, not worry about them being like a full dimensional type of receiver. But again, the list was either a bunch of guys who were past their prime or a lot of slot guys that they don't really need, is kind of how I was looking at the board. In terms of other positions, sure, I'm sure there are players who are out there who may be arguably better than somebody they have here at the bottom of a depth chart, but I don't look at this roster and think there's somebody that has to go. Like, why is this person here? You mentioned, the secondary. I think all 10 of the defensive backs to me are worthy of staying, and I doubt there'd be somebody out there who is better than, necessarily better than what they have. Is there better defensive tackle than Eddie Goldman? Maybe, but I don't think that's like a screaming need. So I think to me, it's kind of receiver or bust, unless there just happens to be somebody out there that Peters or Quinn or someone else on the staff either knows or just happens to love.
All right. Let's finish up with, we now know the details of the Terry McLaurin contract. I've discussed it a lot. The team has to feel pretty pleased. You've done some really good reporting with this, by the way. Ben, in Substack columns this week, reported that the first offer by the team was basically a 25 AAV deal. and that Terry was asking for north of Justin Jefferson money, which would have been more than 35 per year. I think Diana Rossini discussed 40 to 41 Jamar Chase territory. But we now know that this deal is essentially $44.65 million guaranteed. I'm sure you would agree, far less than probably what they were looking for. What do you? What's your take on now seeing this deal and all of the details to it?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, first off, great for everybody involved that the deal got done. The team obviously needs him to play, and if he has a goal of winning a Super Bowl, you can't get that if you don't play. And now he can do that, and we don't have to hold a bake sale for Terry anytime soon. He's got good money. But in terms of the actual what we've been discussing for the last umpteen weeks, yeah, it's a clear win for the team. I see people out there keep pointing to the 29 million AAV, which is already less than the 32 that was being discussed yesterday. And like you said, when you look into the numbers, it's 44 guaranteed, and there's no guaranteed money at signing beyond 2026, which really means that they can cut him after the 2026 season. And, they take a modest cap hit, but like basically it would be like half of his $34 million cap charge that year. And they could get out of it right then if they wanted to. And what's key there is going into 2027, that is when Jaden Daniels' extension, it becomes extension eligible. And I'm sure they do not want to put money on the books if they don't have to, so that they can have as best they can, free reign to plug him in, not have to cut a bunch of contracts to make it work and so on. And so, yeah, I mean, look, if Terry continues to produce as he did a year ago, they'll have no issue paying him.
Exactly.
But if in fact the age 30 thing proves potentially accurate and he starts to slow down even just a little bit, they can get out of the deal. So, look, again, I'm not trying to crush Terry or his side, but when I see people saying that Terry got won this or Terry got paid or all these things, I mean, relative again to what we've been discussing for the last weeks and months, no, he didn't. He got, I mean, a lot less. Like AJ Brown, he and AJ Brown both signed deals that on paper are 3 for $96, but AJ Brown got $84 million guaranteed. That's a massive difference than this. So again, Terry's fine, his family's fine, all that.
Yeah.
But in terms of the negotiation, to me, it looks like a clear win for Washington.
All right. Next week, we can start to talk about predictions. Have you made one yet on season record?
Well, I keep, I know like the over-under is 9.5.
Mm-hmm.
I keep sort of landing on 10 because I don't want to get yelled at by anybody. But, look, I think it's...
Why do you get concerned about being yelled at? What is I'll ask you next week for your definitive prediction, but is getting yelled at by people on social media going to drive part of your decision here?
Drives my whole life, Kevin. Have you figured this out by now? No, I mean,
you don't think they're going to be very good this year. I kind of feel that.
I just think that I can't look at last year and just say stamp down another 12-win season, but this is why Jaden Daniels is so important. I know people understand this, but I don't know if everybody understands it to the degree they need to. As long as he's here, they have a chance to contend. Whatever else is going on, sure, you need good luck, you need the good defense, injury help, good injuries, whatever, or no injuries. But he gives you that shot. That's the hesitation. Without him, if it was just sort of average quarterback, of course they wouldn't have done what they did a year ago, but I would have far more concerns because of the tougher schedule, the good fortune they had in a lot of the games late last year. But with him, he can mask a lot of problems. I wish we had seen him more in the preseason, only to sort of help that part sink in. But he would 1 drive, 4 plays, touchdown. So if he can extrapolate that, they'll be fine.
All right. Talk to you next week. Enjoy the weekend coming up in a few days. This is the last time for about maybe 21 weeks. You're going to be able to take a breath. Good work the last few weeks. I'll talk to you later.
Awesome as always, Kevin. Thanks.
Ben Standig, everybody. You can link to his Substack column at Ben Standig on X on Twitter. All right. Tom Brady, remember, he is part owner of the Raiders, which limited his access as Fox's number one analyst. Well, the NFL's jumped in and changed that. I'll explain what that means next. Tom Brady is the number one analyst on Fox's NFL coverage with Kevin Burkhardt. Also, Tom Rinaldi and Aaron Andrews are part of the number one team on Fox. If you recall last year, Tom Brady, as an owner of the Raiders, had limitations, including not being able to attend production meetings. These are crucial for game broadcasters. They meet with head coaches, they meet with key players leading up to the game at the team's facilities. They can watch the team's practice, etc. Brady was not allowed to attend those production meetings. The NFL is relaxing some of the restrictions surrounding Brady's role as Fox's number one game analyst. He will be allowed this year to attend production meetings, although his meetings with specifically head coaches and key players will be done remotely. They don't want him at practices, so he's still not going to be able to watch teams practice. But still, it's crucial that he have that opportunity. They relaxed the rules for the Super Bowl, for the Chiefs-Eagles Super Bowl. But yeah, they're going to do that. You know, I was looking at Washington's schedule. They are going to be the number one Fox team in Washington, in Landover, week 1 for the Skins and Giants, a week from Sunday. That is a Kevin Burkhardt, Tom Brady game. It's a 1 o'clock game, but it's a CBS doubleheader. And then it looks like they would be in Dallas week 7 for Washington Cowboys, in Landover week 10 for Lions Skins, and then probably in week 16 for the first of the 2 Eagles games. CBS-wise, I don't think we're going to get an Nance Romo game. They're not in the 425 window on CBS. In fact, they're only on CBS this year one time. Scheduled right now, one time on CBS, and that is at Atlanta, week 4. That's strange, but that's it for CBS games for Washington. So Nance Romo won't be, I don't think, doing a Washington game this year unless it's week 4, and I'm just pulling up week 4 right now. Week 4 is a CBS doubleheader. No, it's Ravens-Chiefs. So they definitely won't be doing that one. All right, Denton is going to join us, and we're going to talk some college football. We'll do that after this. Kevin Sheehan Show, the Team 980 and the team980.com.
All right, some more NFL news breaking this hour as Rashee Rice is accepting and will serve a 6-game suspension from the NFL to start the 2025 season per Tom Pelissero. The NFL and the NFLPA are working to finalize the settlement and set Rice up to return week 7 against the Las Vegas Raiders. Some more breaking news out of the NFL as Kyle Hamilton has signed a new extension to make him the highest paid safety in NFL history. He is signing a 4-year extension worth $100 million, including $82 million in guaranteed money, now tying him to Baltimore through 2030. Some more trade news from the NFL this morning. Adam Thielen is heading back to the Minnesota Vikings in exchange for a pick swap. The Jags have traded for Tim Patrick in exchange for a 6th-round pick. He is already their tallest, heaviest, and oldest wide receiver at age 31. The Nats, they fall to the Yankees last night by a score of 5-1. Mackenzie Gore giving up 3 runs on 3 hits through 5 innings. Luis Gil, 5 innings of solid pitching, giving up only 1 run on 5 hits, including 5 strikeouts, looking to avoid the sweep. The Nats will wrap up their series against the New York Yankees this afternoon. Cade Cavalli taking on Max Fried, first pitch at 1:05. Nats on deck with Charlie and Dave in just a few minutes at 12:35 on the Fan. This update is sponsored by the Team 980 YouTube page. Just open the app, type in the Team 980, hit subscribe. Kevin Sheehan is live every day from 10 to 1. You can catch Denton's office throughout all of football season. Don't forget to hit the like button whenever you do decide to join us and turn on notifications to stay up to date on all things DC sports. And that is what's trending.
college football is underway. We had a game or 4 last weekend. Denton Day, my longtime producer, who is now a producer and a host on the BetMGM network. He's also the host of College Football Overtime on the College Sports Network on Sirius XM. And by the way, you hear him a lot on 980 and 106.7 The Fan. He'll be in for me. I've got 2 more days off. That's it for the summer. Back on the day after Labor Day, ready to get after it for the long haul of football season. So Denton's in for me tomorrow and on Friday. So I know that you and I, because we talk and we text often, we can't wait for this time of year and counting it down. I'm going to start by asking you something that I asked Stanford Steve the other day. Do you think on Saturday at noon, when Texas takes the field against Ohio State in the shoe, that we will be watching the 2 best teams in America? They are ranked 1 and 2, not in both polls, but are those the 2 best teams in the country, in your opinion?
Yes. Yeah. Right now, yes. I think that could change based off of the way that certain quarterbacks, progress throughout the course of the season. But I would say right now, by the time we get to Saturday, yes, those are the top 2 teams.
Okay. So with that in mind, is Jeremiah Smith easily the best player in college football?
Yes. Yeah. By a pretty considerable margin, I would say. I think just generally, Kevin, I've noticed over the last couple of years, it seems much easier, and I'm not going to call it like fully easy, but it seems much easier for wide receivers to make a jump from high school to college and then ultimately from college to the NFL smoothly. So, yeah, I would say Jeremiah Smith, the way he played last year, I think he's only going to get better this year. So, yeah, I'd say he's definitely the best player.
Why do you think that is?
I think because the position is so heavily relied on skills and nuances, but you can teach those at a really young age. Like, for example, if you're playing tackle, eventually you're just going to have to beef up and you're going to have to face someone that's bigger than you. Whereas when you're playing wide receiver, you don't really have to. You can kind of hone the skills from a really young age, and then they kind of carry with you from level to level.
Is Arch Manning the best quarterback in America?
No. He'll be good. It wouldn't stun me if he gets to New York as, one of the guys that's in the top 5 for Heisman voting. I wouldn't gamble on him to win the Heisman. I know the preseason favorite rarely ever does. I would say that right now it's either Garrett Nussmeier or maybe Drew Aller as QB1 across the country. There are a couple other guys in that conversation, but it's not Arch yet.
I think this is going to be interesting this year. I love Sellers out of South Carolina. I've not seen it with Aller yet, but let's, if he takes that big jump here in this upcoming season, the guy I don't get personally and all of the hype around him, and we've seen him projected in some mock drafts for 2026 as the number 1 overall player in that draft, Cade Klubnik. I don't get that at all. I like Garrett Nussmeier because of the experience, but I don't see him as like a starting NFL quarterback at any point down the road. How do you just sort of evaluate all of the top tier quarterbacks? And is there somebody that I haven't mentioned that you really like?
So I think I feel a little bit better about Cade Klubnik than you do. I don't know that I see him as a great, I certainly wouldn't draft him number 1 overall, but I think experience inside that offense. He played really well last year with a Clemson team where talent-wise, they certainly weren't anywhere near the top of the country. Top in the ACC, definitely, but top of the country, they weren't. I think the one guy that you're probably missing that I think could be really good and make a jump from college to the NFL is DJ Lagway at Florida.
Yeah.
Florida has another tough schedule this year. That just kind of seems to be the way that they have scheduled the past couple of years. But he's super talented, rocket arm. The accuracy needs to get just a little bit better, and quick processing needs to get a little bit better. But so does everybody in college. I think with the gauntlet that he's going to face, if he comes out on the other side and Florida's like an 8-9 win team, it's going to be because he carried them through most of the way. So he's the guy that maybe right now isn't looked at as a top 5 or top 3 quarterback in the nation, but by the end of it, I think he definitely could be.
You and I have been on different sides of Carson Beck. Not that I am in love with Beck, but whenever I've watched Beck, I think there is something to him. I think that's going to be an interesting fit. But the fit that to me is most intriguing of the guys off the radar a little bit, because I think this guy does look the part. I think Miller Moss with Jeff Brom at Louisville is going to be a very interesting pairing. What do you think?
I think he'll fit better there than he will at USC. Not Cliff Kingsbury. Lincoln Riley has always been viewed as this quarterback whisperer, but there is also a part of it to where he always had really, really talented quarterbacks, and he just had to put them in a good situation. I think Moss is going to be better. You're right in that Jeff Brom offense, and honestly, in the ACC, Clemson is so far ahead of everybody, but there is an avenue for Louisville to jump some of the other teams. Your Florida States, which they're probably already ahead of, but your Miamis. SMU, I happen to think Georgia Tech's going to be good this year, but Louisville could jump a lot of those teams and be that second team in the ACC. Moss has a lot of skills that I think really translate well to the Jeff Brom style of offense, and I think they'll make it a little bit easier on him in terms of what he has to do with the line of scrimmage and how he's viewing defenses to always have somewhere to go with the football. So I like the assessment of him. I think Louisville could be a surprise in the ACC.
We have a top 4 that includes Texas. For those of you that don't know, Texas is an SEC team. But the rest of the SEC, how do you see that shaking out?
I really like Alabama this year, and I think it's mostly because they're flying under the radar. You have expectations with Georgia. You look at LSU, and Brian Kelly has a little bit more pressure this year than he has in years past. For starters, he needs to win opening weekend. They schedule really hard games, which is great, but eventually you're going to have to start winning those games. And on top of it, you left a program because you said, I can't win a national championship here. And while Notre Dame didn't win last year, they got to a national championship before you did with LSU, before you even got to the playoff. And he squandered our quarterback's really great year at LSU. So I think there's a lot of pressure with him. But with Alabama, Kalen DeBoer in year number 2 always makes a jump. He did it at Washington. I expect him to do it here. They go with Ty Simpson at quarterback, who I think is going to fit kind of what he's looking to do offensively a little bit better. Jalen Milroe was a hell of an athlete and a gamer for all intents and purposes.
By the way, real quickly, let me interrupt. Jalen Milroe made the team in Seattle, right?
Yes. Yeah, definitely. Oh, that would have been, you talk about.
That would have been a headline. But did he play well in the preseason? Did he get opportunities? I don't even know.
Yes and no. He played like a rookie quarterback that has a lot to learn. He just does not seem to have the pressure of like a Shedeur Sanders or kind of what Anthony Richardson had in Indianapolis, because they know he's not going to start right away. So there's like so much wiggle room there.
All right, back to your SEC countdown.
But I think Alabama is going to be really good this year, and I think they could sneak their way into the SEC championship game, and potentially, depending on how Texas does with Arch Manning and how he gets accustomed to playing really, really good SEC teams on a regular basis, Alabama could mess around and win the SEC.
All right, back to the ACC. A lot of people think Clemson. You like Texas and Ohio State. You think we're going to watch the 2 best teams in the country on Saturday at noon, but there are a lot of people that like Clemson this year and think that Dabo has a chance to win a national championship. Can they?
Yes, this is my national championship pick. I got him. That line is moved like crazy. I got him at 14. It's either 13 or 14 to 1. I think right now it's 9 to 1 at most books. The reason is pretty simple. You have a quarterback that is familiar with what you're trying to do offensively. While I don't super duper love Cade Klubnik, I think he's better than most people do. But really, if you look at Clemson, they are built in the trenches very similarly to how they were built in the trenches when they were beating Alabama in the championship.
Especially
you look back
that
at some
D-line,
of those,
right?
That D-line is crazy. They got a bunch of dudes that, if all goes well, they will be top 10 picks on that defensive line. So they have a bunch of guys that can go out there and play. And on top of that, they got really good wide receivers this year as well. So there's a lot going in the direction of Clemson that is much similar to like 2016, 17, 18 era Clemson, and not so much as like what we've been accustomed to recently with the 2022, 23 kind of boring Clemson.
All right. Big Ten wise, after Ohio State, do you like Penn State, Michigan, Illinois? How does your order go after Ohio State?
So I do think that Penn State it'll be a battle between them and Oregon for number 2. We've talked about this a lot over the years. I really like Dan Lanning. I think he's a really good head coach, but their quarterback situation, I think, is really what draws me to them. In this era of college football where if I'm not playing, I'm leaving, somebody else will make room for me, yada, yada, yada. Dante Moore came to Oregon after they had gotten Dylan Gabriel last year, so he knew he was going to sit and he was fine with it. So he sat for a year behind Dylan Gabriel, and now he's getting his opportunity. He was okay at UCLA prior to coming to Oregon. You saw some ups, saw some downs, but I'm hoping that sitting for a year is really going to elevate his game. And because I like Dan Lanning, because they are one of those teams that kind of always replenishes with talent and speed, I do think Oregon could be a sneaky team to watch in the Big Ten, which sounds crazy because they won the damn thing last year.
Yeah.
But because of how, Ohio State won the championship and everyone and their mother is loving on Penn State this year, I do think Oregon is a team to watch out in the Big Ten.
Tell me what you think of Bryce Underwood, the, incredible, quarterback that's going to be a true freshman, will start at Michigan. You had the whole Portnoy and, the whole flipping from LSU to Michigan on the commitment with a lot of money. Is he ready to play, and is he as good as people think he is?
I do think he's ready to play. I think he's definitely better than whatever they had last year, which is a major step up. I mean, if you look at what they did last year, they were still a halfway decent team, despite the fact that they did not have a quarterback who could throw. And they were such a one-dimensional offense, and that one dimension was stacking the box, and we're going to run it and see if you can stop it. And usually, towards the end of the year, Big Ten team said, all right, if you're going to stack the box, we will just put 11 in here and you can't do anything about it. And that ended up working. I think he adds another element to this offense. I mean, they have a lot of problems off of the field, as I'm sure you are very much aware of, and the listeners are as well. They got a lot of things dealing with the NCAA. But I do think Bryce Underwood is certainly the best quarterback they've had since J.J. McCarthy, talent-wise. And I'm excited to see if he can put that talent on paper to use on the field.
Is there any love for Iowa this year? And I say that because I think, will be very good on defense again. I think they'll be able to run the football, and I think they actually have a quarterback this year that can throw the forward pass.
So no, the love that you would think normally goes to Iowa on like a yearly basis in the Big Ten is now being directed to Illinois. Brett Bielema's back, and Bielema's done a really good job since he took over.
This is what year is this now at Illinois? 3 or 4?
3 or 4. Yeah, I think he's going into year number 4 at Illinois. They get Luke Altmaier back at quarterback. They won 10 games last year. So there's a lot of positives to build off of last year for Illinois. Now, it's a lot easier said than done. I mean, how often do we see teams have a really good year one year, then the next year, because of a number of different reasons, ball doesn't bounce one way, a guy doesn't play as well as he did the year prior, what have you, and they kind of stumble. I mean, Michigan State a couple of years ago was a great example of that with that Kenneth Walker team that win like 11 games, and then Mel Tucker's gone in 18 months, right? I don't think that's going to happen to Bielema, but a lot of the hype that normally goes to your Iowa or like your Wisconsin is now being directed towards Illinois, potentially being a surprise in the conference.
Who's good in the Big 12?
Everybody and nobody. Once again, it's going to be just a bunch of teams beating up on one another to the point where you could get a team that goes 11-1 as a champion, or you very well could get a team that's 9-3 as your champion. I am partial to Arizona State. I really like their quarterback in Levitt, and another year with Kenny Dillingham. But we saw a lot from Iowa State and the resiliency. And on the other side of that, we kind of were let down by Kansas State outside of Avery Johnson. One, he didn't do enough to win that football game, but they didn't really have anyone else after Dylan Edwards went out. So there's a depth issue with some of these teams. I lean towards Arizona State, but that conference, like it was last year and years prior, it is a madhouse. Anyone could win on any given Saturday.
Of the non-powers, is Boise still the class?
For right now, yeah, they are. We'll see as the year progresses. I mean, it's not local, but it's kind of local, depending on how much you want to stretch local. But James Madison could be really, really good this year. And, coming out of the Sun Belt, I think the Sun Belt, generally speaking, gets a little bit more respect than most other Group of 5 conferences because that conference just has a history. It's not, if we did like a Power 4.5, they'd probably be the half. So I do think if James Madison has a good year in the Sun Belt and Boise struggles a little bit, which I would imagine they're not going to look as good without Ashton Genty. So if they struggle a little bit, it could be James Madison that jumps them at least early in the season. And then, once you get deep into the year, who knows?
All right, give me a team. We're talking to Denton. Denton, of course, will be in for me for the next 2 days and then back at it for football season starting on Tuesday after Labor Day. Denton, is now a host and producer on the BetMGM network, at The Denton Day on X, on Twitter. He does a lot of Washington football team stuff, produces a lot of short, very informative videos. We can talk a little bit about our team here in a moment, but I want the team or teams that you are touting, that you've got a real strong hunch that are a bit off the radar, are going to make a run at a playoff berth.
I got a 7-1 ticket on Nebraska getting to the college football playoff. That is the team that I have been the most passionate about this offseason. You get Raiola back for another year, and his weird relationship with Patrick Mahomes aside, he's a super talented quarterback. And I think Matt Rule in year number 3, if you look at what he was at Temple from year number 2 to year number 3, it was a big jump in wins. And if you look at Baylor from year 2 to year number 3, it was that big jump in wins. That was the year that got him that job with the Carolina Panthers. So year 2 to year 3 is usually where he makes the big jump. Year 3 is this year. You got a 5-star quarterback in Raiola. And if you look at their schedule, outside of Michigan and Penn State on that schedule, all those games are winnable. And it's not even to say that the Michigan and Penn State games aren't winnable. Who knows how the quarterback plays, but all of those games are winnable. That's not to say they will win all of them, but it wouldn't stun me if they walk away with a win against a USC or an Iowa to close their season, so on and so forth. So they got a really easy schedule. They're really talented. It wouldn't stun me if they get 10 wins, and a 10-win Big Ten team is getting into the college football playoff every single year, especially now that we're at 12. So I got a ticket on Nebraska to make a run to make the playoff.
I kind of like Louisville. I think they're going to be a part of my futures plays here coming up. I like the combination of Moss and Braum. They play obviously Miami and Clemson on their schedule, which will give them opportunities. They also play, I think, Madison early, which will be an interesting matchup. All right, week 1 here, full week 1. Any sides stand out? Who do you like?
So my gut feel hates this play. The contrarian model that I have been subscribing to since you and I started working together loves Miami against Notre Dame. I looked at it on Sunday, and Sunday is not the right time to look at these because so much money comes in throughout the course of the week. But on Sunday, on a particular app that I was using, it said that the money was 90% in the favor of Notre Dame. And
Miami is going to be definitely an public side, no doubt. And that line's been sitting there at like that 2.5 number for a while. They're just continue to invite more Notre Dame action.
Exactly. So we're going to jump on Miami. I don't really like Carson Beck that much. I don't really like Mario Cristobal that much, but because the number is so lopsided. I mean, that's why I was on Iowa State week number 0, and that one cashed out. So I'm going to be on Miami.
Okay. Thoughts about 53-man cut down, Terry contract, anything that you'll be talking about, tomorrow on the show, or maybe you guys were talking about on your show this morning.
So I guess that $32 million AAV wasn't quite accurate, huh?
No.
Who would have seen that one coming? Look, I'm happy for Terry. And today is the day if you want to do victory laps on whatever particular side you're on in terms of, Adam
there was only one victor in the negotiation.
Well, there's only one
the
victory,
team got a really good deal.
If you want to do those victory laps, now is the day to do it. And then tomorrow it's all about the Giants. It's all about week 1. I don't want to hear any of this. Oh, the team won. I don't care about that tomorrow. Today, sure, because I got criticized when the deal came due because I was saying, Kevin, I was like, I think it's going to be $28 to $29 million. We'll see what the guarantees are. And that's exactly, what it ended up being. But I'm just ready for week 1. I'm excited to see what he's going to look like with Debo in the offense. I mean, Debo has looked really strong at camp, and it's a lot more than just your bubble screens that he ran in San Francisco. I think they're going to expand his route tree a little bit. So, getting to see Terry and Debo and, hopefully Noah Brown week number 1, if he's healthy, and Zach Ertz, who is Zach Ertz is so good at getting open at that spot. Athleticism is maybe not the greatest anymore, but his route running nuances are just spectacular. I'm really, really excited about what this offense is going to look like. And I'm just glad that, we got all of that nonsense behind us and we can focus on actual football now.
Doc refers to Zach Ertz as Jaden's Binky. I love that. And by the way, it's apropos because he really is the go-to guy, and he gets still at his age. He is crafty in his ability to separate and catch the football. All right, one last one. We're going to have you on. Denton's going to come on during the college football season. We're ironing out details of time and date, but we'll probably do something on Thursdays during football season with Denton coming on and doing the college football segment that he did here as a part of the show for several years. But if I don't have, we'll do something next week, obviously, but I kind of want your over-under right now at 9.5 on Washington season.
Over. I feel pretty confident. I know that the defense is still questionable, I would say, especially that defensive line. They didn't look great in the preseason, but also who cares? It's the preseason. I want to see that defensive line get better, but good luck stopping the offense. When you got 5, I'll take 5 over literally anybody at this point in the NFL. So 9.5, I will take the over on the 9.5.
I think I'm going to be with you on that. I really feel like maybe it's not 12, but it's double digits again. Of course, it's contingent on health at the quarterback position. I'm sorry?
Is your passion officially back? I worked with you for 3 years, and you constantly said the passion is not quite there. Is it back now because of how good Jaden is?
Well, you know how invested in Jaden I was.
Right.
So from that standpoint, of course, I'm also invested in the team being good because it's better for all of us that do what we do. Do I still feel it? Do I feel it today like I felt it 10 years ago? It's different. It's just different. But I'm going to enjoy the throwback uniforms. I'm going to enjoy those uniforms becoming the permanents. We believe in 2026. I think that will certainly, I know some people think it's silly. Most of us understand why it's not. But yeah, I'm really pumped up about a season in which we're going to have so many, on paper right now, so many heavyweight anticipated matchups. And I'm talking about beyond this city. I'm talking about league-wide, starting in week 2, on a Thursday night at Lambeau. That's a hell of a Thursday night game in week 2. Could Micah Parsons be a Packer by week 2?
They'd have to give him a hell of a deal. I hope also that Terry shows up to his press conference in that throwback 17. We haven't seen a picture of him in it yet. I want to see him in the 17, the whites.
Good advice. That'd be really good advice. All right. Thanks for doing this. Appreciate it, as always.
All right. See ya.
All right. Denton Day, everybody. He'll be in tomorrow and Friday. I've got those 2 days off. By the way, Kyle Hamilton, the Chris Olave trade back, Dotson, Cole Turner, Sam Howell, Brian Robinson Jr., playing chess over checkers with the Saints. Kyle Hamilton was there. Kyle Hamilton just reached an agreement with the Ravens for a 4-year, $100.4 million contract extension. He becomes the highest paid safety in the history of the game. That was a frustrating draft. Look, I thought that Jahan Dotson could play. So I didn't mind picking up some extra picks and getting Jahan Dotson. I didn't think he was Olave. I didn't think he was Drake London. And I'm still convinced had Drake London been there, that would have been the selection at 11. But the guy that I wanted in that draft at 11 was Kyle Hamilton more than anything else. Kyle Hamilton is a monster in this league. And the Ravens just made him the highest paid safety in the history of the game. Yeah. Jahan did make the Eagles, right? I know that they picked up another receiver, but he did make the final roster, I'm assuming. That would have been a headline.
Oh, we would have heard about that if he did.
Yeah. Jamin Davis got cut by the Jets. And Taylor Heineke got cut by the Chargers. All right. I'm off the next 2 days. We'll be back on Tuesday. Enjoy Labor Day weekend. Enjoy all the college football. Next week will be a power-packed week leading up to week 1 of the NFL season. Giant Skins will have all of our predictions. Next week, I'll give you all of my season prop bets. Next week, we'll have Washington's predicted record with footnotes. Max will participate. Looking forward to that. Chris Russell's next.